Thank you.
All right, Natalia, do you mind sharing the agenda? Thanks. Sorry, I was on mute talking to myself. I think we can move straight to redistribution and new business in interest of time. So, Alice, I don't remember, what did we say how we're gonna pull up a map and then, oh, you're on mute too. Yes, great.
Okay. Sorry about that. Yes, so we think there's a map. I was thinking, I know that it came up in the emails about how we're going to make it random since we can't really pick out of a hat this time. But we do want to redistribute, or we want to talk about redistributing maybe. And due to the fact that we have a new member, he would be replacing, who's he replacing? Katie, right? Wow, it's been that long. So he's replacing Katie. Obviously, an option is to just take Katie's schools, but I don't know if we want to talk about or think about redistributing. I would actually like less schools. I want to be able to fulfill my duty, and 4 schools plus a pre-K in this climate might be too much for me personally. Other people might be willing to take more on. I mean, I'll if I have to have 4 or 5, I'll take it. But that's something we might want to consider. And also, I'm thinking with the map, it might make more sense to give someone 215 and 228 and 17, schools that are in the same geographic area, just in terms of visiting. If you want to devote a Friday, maybe not for this year, but just going forward, it's something to think about. Should we be in person? Thoughts, ideas?
One early thought, initial thought I have is I like the idea. I get what you're saying, Alice. I like the idea of having schools all over the district, just personally, just for the variety it would give you, the different communities. That's one point of view.
Do we know if they're distributed in any way by elementary versus middle versus K-8 versus? You're muted, Alice, I think.
You guys were at the first meeting, so
Yeah,
I don't
no, they're random.
think we did a hat, right?
Pick out of a hat.
Pick out of a hat. So I don't think that there was any preference. You might end up pretty middle school heavy or elementary school heavy. I think it was just randomized.
I haven't thought this through, but would it make sense to randomly pick the elementaries and distribute them, then randomly pick the middles? I don't know.
I mean, that's
I like that.
something to talk about. Just one caveat: you cannot have a school that your child is currently enrolled in. So if we should take a look at the list and just double check that that's not the case for anyone. But I don't think it is.
And does anyone object to redistribution? Just maybe we should check first. One built really great relationships with their.
I'm sorry, what is our reasoning for redistribution and not just giving the new guy the Katie's?
Well, one of my thoughts was just that does it make more sense in this COVID time to geographically distribute them, just to make our lives easier should we need to be in person? Obviously, it's just a thought and a suggestion, but the other thing is I think only Robert has really had contact with any of their schools. Anyone, please correct me if I'm wrong.
So I have spoken to Ms. Kapitanakis.
Okay.
And really, to be honest, she's the only one of my schools that I've spoken to. I've spoken to other principals, but in the president's council role.
Sure.
Last year, I was at SLT meetings in my school, two of my schools.
Okay, so that's.
But again, I'm game for anything. I don't think geographically we're going anywhere for the next 6 months.
Yeah.
No, I know. I just because I also thought with inertia, if we start a policy now, it would maybe go forward into the next year. But I have no, I'm not going to be running, so I don't care. I'm just let's
I
try
mean-
to think about best practices a little bit.
If this ever became an issue, I would need to have an accommodation, at least until my mom and my wife gets a vaccine.
Okay, right.
Because I'm actually isolating with them out of town, but as soon as we get vaccines, then things get back to normal. I'm hoping if they might be in the front of the line, if so, that'd be great. If not, I'm guessing, January, February, March,
Sure,
maybe.
I mean, I don't see any of us really being invited at this point anyway, and I also just want to mention, part of my geographic reasoning is for members that might not have a car. I mean, we all might be lucky enough to have transportation, but it can be challenging to get to all these different parts of Brooklyn. A lot of times only the bus goes there. If you're invited in January, you're waiting in the freezing cold. So I just thought maybe.
Uber is one of our benefits, right? So we can
That
Uber
was
all we
just
want.
What I'm thinking, right, so,
But now might be the most opportune time to participate in school meetings because we can all join remotely from our homes, so.
Yeah.
yeah,
easy
and
for-
I would hope it would continue that way. I mean, participation has been so much higher with Zoom meetings. I can't imagine why we would ever go back to having an SLT meeting in person.
Yeah. And is it violating any regulation to draw the names randomly and then on a, as needed basis, people can exchange? Like if you wanted to try and get something closer, does that violate any protocol or practice?
You want a bartering system?
Basically,
I mean, honestly, in the past, we have sometimes, someone might have a good relationship, or I mean, I had a school where I had not a good relationship with the principal. So I got, and I knew that I wouldn't be effective as a liaison. So I don't think it's definitely not against the rules. And, we'd have to ask Steve, who is going to be attending later, but that could be
Yep.
an action item for later. We don't need to redistribute today. We could just give Steve's tools to Katie in the interest of time. We could table this. I just wanted to bring it up for.
Yeah, I think
Four
I,
out of 41 schools have even had any contact with us. I feel like we could redo something if we wanted to.
I think it's a good idea. I'll just throw in my 2 cents, but I just think we have so much on the agenda today. I probably would vote for tabling this maybe to the next meeting.
Okay, I'm okay with that.
can I, sorry, Inga, I would love to make contact with
Yeah.
school as soon as I can, just my personal view. If I can take Katie's and then maybe we can redistribute at the next meeting following up with Steve, that'd be my preference.
Yeah, I'm for that.
Yeah, that's fine.
Or maybe finish out the school year and then we can think about redistributing for the next school year.
And that's also fine. I do want to draw all of your attention, and I don't know if Natalia can share this. Maybe it doesn't even need to be shared, but I did put it in the Google Drive or I shared it with everybody. I revamped the liaison letter. Any text in red is what I'm not sure about, or that is specific to these COVID times. We really need to all be sending out our letter again, considering 10% of schools have actually ever reached out to us in the last year and a half. We need to, I would love to have a more detailed and maybe, specific letter to each of our schools.
So you remember, Alice,
Yeah.
it used to be there was a tight rein on how we sent out our letters, and it always went
I
out.
know,
from the
But
CEC.
those days are over, Adele.
I know.
It's
So,
a new day, and we should take advantage of it.
but we should have some sort of protocol in place for how to send out letters and what the
It's the
effect.
same protocol. So Stephen knows, all the letters go through the CC20 email with Natalia being the middleman, or the middle person. And we're going to start with PTA not PTA president, sorry, principals and parent coordinators. And Natalia is going to be working with Janine Faustner, who's President's Council, and Vito, you're welcome to help with this too. So I know you sit on the council to get, PTA emails need to be voluntary, and elections were just finalized this past month. So we'll get a list of those and we can reach out to them once they provide them to us of their own free will. And then SLTs, what we can do is actually, and I spoke to Steve about this, Steve Weezer, we reach out to the schools and we ask to be invited to the SLT meeting. Basically, we want to be put on the agenda to that SLT meeting. We want to introduce ourselves, say what we do, and then once we're at that SLT meeting, we remember to ask if they can, if any parents would like to share their emails with us to be put on our mailing list. and that we will do the same. Here's our email. And so we have a direct line set up. And that is how we get SLT emails. Simeon, I know you had asked about that. We need to be asking for them directly, because there is sort of a conflict with Natalia doing it, as they are parent volunteers. But PTA members can volunteer it, and Janine and Natalia will be working on that. So we'll send that liaison letter first to parent coordinators, principals, and APs. And then second, we'll get those PTA contacts. And then third, we'll just make sure that we extend, invitations to SLT members as well to be able to reach out to us. Because often an SLT member is someone who maybe works full-time, who might not be in on the everyday PTA administration stuff, but who might have some connection to another school community that we might not be getting access to. So I'm really passionate about getting those SLT member parents in on this liaison connection with us as well. And that's all I'm gonna
Alice,
say.
just not to give you more work, but would you want to make a temporary addendum to the initial letter? As Steve so wisely brought up, capital plan time. It might be a good foot in the door for us.
Sure. And like I said, it's now in the shared drive. So please, anyone who wants to go in, make a copy for yourself, for your school, maybe tailor it to what you want to say. It's all going to go through Natalia in the end, but I think we're all reasonable people. We can write our own letter. And yeah, we should be putting something about the capital plan. I think the ship might have sailed on that one, but we can put something like, it's so important that you invite us to your school, so that come January, we can make informed recommendations on capital planning to the SCA. That's a really good reason to get us into the school and fill out that report that comes, the school visit report, that I can also send a link to if anyone needs a copy of that.
And even if they don't go through us on the capital plan, we could give them specific information on how to fill out for going directly through the borough president.
Yes. And so in the letter now is just some more specific things that we do. You can invite us to presentations. You can invite us, per student performances. You can invite us to events, SLT meetings, PTA, tours of the building. Like we can put all of that in the letter so people really know what we do. A 2-paragraph letter saying, hey, I'm Alice. Talk to me if you want. It doesn't say anything, and it's not inviting anyone to really communicate with us. So please, everyone, put your 2 cents in. Pick a font color.
Separate letter. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, I invite you all to edit that letter in the drive. I invite you all to edit whatever you want in the drive, and just let's all start really making these months count.
Out a separate letter about the capital plan requests. I think that's what we did last year, and we had them submit basically what they wanted, and then we ranked those and submitted that to SCA, right?
I'm not exactly sure, but I know we're going to talk about that tonight. So let's maybe we should wrap this up. I would move to assign Katie Mullen schools to Steve right now. Anyone second?
I second.
Okay, and then we can table the redistribution. Maybe it even waits till next term, but let's go on that letter and let's try to get those out in January so that we can, or this month even, to our principals and parent coordinators, so we can start really building these relationships, because our time is quickly expiring. Thank you, everyone.
Great, thanks, Alice.
Thank you.
So I think capital planning is the next item on the agenda. Is that right, Natalia? Yeah, and so that was a good segue. You're muted, Natalia. I don't know if you're trying to talk. Great.
Yes, so we have just a general discussion of the capital plan and the final responses that they sent us for last year's requests.
Great. So Natalia, did you, correct me if I'm wrong, did you already you sent something to schools like last week or something like that, or 2 weeks ago about regarding their capital plans, or no, we haven't done that yet? No, okay. So do we want to talk about?
Natalia, I'm sorry, do you have the letter? Natalia? The letter that you generally send out, it's in the folder. Do you have it?
Well, we just wasn't be like a specific letter. It was like just an email saying, no, the deadline is coming up. And then of course they haven't given me the deadline, the one that's coming up. I know it's usually like at the beginning of January.
Can you double check and make sure there's not a letter on the hard drive that we've had?
Remember, we don't have the hard drive anymore. Remember, it crashed. Yeah, I told you this months ago.
But can you search your email? Because I'm pretty sure we don't delete anything. Search capital.
I did
plan
not find
in
it in the
the
email. I checked. I didn't find.
You did a search
Yeah.
of what we sent out last December or the December before?
Right. It was just like an email, general email, just reminding them to send the capital plan requests.
Can you go back 2 years?
That was, I'll go
was 2
back
years?
to,
Because I swear, if my brain's not failing me, I'm pretty sure there was an actual letter.
I mean, maybe we can get a template of that letter from FACE as well, if they have it.
Are you talking about the request form? The CEC request form?
Yeah, for capital plan for
And it's like a form with like a spreadsheet?
no, it was the one we sent to the schools asking them for their asks.
Interesting.
And
Okay.
I think if I remember correctly, it said kind of what they could ask for.
I have
But
to.
you
Oh, wait,
might
wait,
have
wait.
two or
I
three
remember
years.
that pamphlet you had sent me. It was like for like a few years before. Like I found that, but kind of describing like what capital plan funding is for. But that's it.
Let me check my, all right, I'm gonna go quiet. I want to check my email and see if I have something in here. But I thought I saw it. Maybe we could do either that or draft something. We should, because a lot of schools don't really understand what asks they can ask for. And when they do, where the hell am I? So if they have a tendency to ask for bathrooms, and we know, obviously, they're not going to give you a bathroom.
Well, I want to talk to that point. So we got the list of things that we requested and then what the response was. And it's kind of confusing, but the bathrooms are actually still under review. Whereas a number of other things like playgrounds, they say they're unable to prioritize. So it's not clear to me if bathrooms are actually possible.
Bathrooms are another construction department. They don't fall under SCA repair. So that's why bathrooms tend to get rejected out of hand. I don't remember the department specifically, but it's available. I can find out. Let me make a note.
It's school facilities.
School
Yeah,
facility.
school facilities, Steve, you're already such an asset. Yeah,
Really?
school facilities.
But
That's
their
exactly
response to
what it
both
is.
things is they're unable to prioritize at this time. And that included auditoriums, playgrounds.
Probably because there are no kids in school.
Yeah.
That's what I'm thinking there. But yeah, and the other thing, like little bathroom tweaks, I think are possible, but generally what they're asking for is because they're building as a 100-year-old bathroom, and that is a facilities issue for sure. So
Yeah, maybe it's a COVID thing with what the bathrooms now, because the bathrooms previously wouldn't even be considered.
right.
And people are wasting their energy asking for them.
Yeah, ask for what you can get.
But the only thing that says a capital project is under review is laptops. Everything else says unable to prioritize or under review by the DOE, which I gather you say is being shunted to another source.
Yeah, and then laptops, I believe the technology can be shunted to Reso A's as well, Resolution A fundings, which are different and I think legislative, right, Natalia?
Through borough presidents.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think
it
they're
definitely is very confusing.
grants that are basically gotten through the legislature or your city council. So those are Reso A, and they tend to be laptops or technology. Yes, it is very confusing. You need a whole training.
It doesn't seem like much of our requests get responded to positively, and it's not clear there's any advice to give to schools about what they should be applying for.
That's part of why our visits are so important. If you can get into the door of your 4 or 5 schools by October or November, you really, and then you have the education on what will get passed and what will not get approved, then you're really in a position to help the schools apply for what they actually can achieve.
Well, what if we went directly to SCA and asked them what in the current climate, What should
Right.
our schools be asking for that would be prioritized? Because
Well,
last year they told
They're
us
coming in
not.
January.
Yes, so are we having an SCA presentation in January, Natalia? So on January 13th, anyone who's listening is our next CEC meeting. We'll be having an SCA presentation, and maybe we should be, maybe in the Google Drive, we could have a list of questions to ask.
Can we ask them now? Because it seems kind of counterproductive to have them in January when we already need the schools to submit. We're asking the schools to submit by the first or second week in January. Can we at least send an email to them and say, could you just tell us what they're prioritizing in our current climate? And this way we're telling our schools something that they have a chance of getting, maybe. And then, yeah, it'd be interesting to hear from them in January, but I remember last time it was counterproductive.
It was interesting. I don't know if this is any insight into your question, Adele, but I did take a look at the capital amendment that was just released in November, and it's basically, the total amount is basically unchanged, and it's the same kind of priorities that you guys are familiar with from the past. Capacity is the majority of the plan, almost 50%. And there's really no change in funding. And I watched a training video and they said, as of now, they haven't been told how much it's going to be cut back. So that might mirror the response we would get back if we ask now. I don't know.
I mean, it's pretty clear, I think, that this process does not garner very much as for schools. That the SCA has a lot of plans that are basically built around capacity and long-term vision for buildings. And these are a lot of little asks that some of them, I think, get in as gravy, but most of them are going to end up as Reso A or other funding sources.
And I have to say, schools have a better chance of getting Reso A, and we should really be advising them to be seeking Reso A.
So is this a typical rate of, let's just say, rejection for a capital plan request? For those of you who have seen one of these before, all these unable to prioritize, is that the number of those typical?
For us, yes, but if you look on the site and you see how many hundreds of projects they do actually fund, it might be some conflict within the schools, but community resources, building different facilities for community centers, those tend to get, and there's a huge list, there's a huge spreadsheet on there about the capital plan budget. But as far as ours, I haven't in 6 years seen anything productive come out of our requests. Or at least, nothing's come back to us saying, hey, thanks a lot. We really did get that, auditorium upgrade through capital plan. They get it through Reso A. Reso A money is very productive, but capital plan money for us.
And so what about, one that caught my eye on the list from this year, the PS 186 extension, that seemed like one of the most sort of significant ones if you're talking about a new construction project, right? And I was a little miffed by the response there. You guys can look at it, but I couldn't quite tell if we got it included or not. And then I looked in the actual amendment and I didn't see it in the actual capital plan that they just released. So on our list, it says it should be in capital plan. It's not. So anyway, that's just sort of one observation I had about what I think should be one of the larger items on here. But so.
Can I say something?
Yep.
Sorry. If I remember our conversation last time on this, I recall that we delved into the fact that children weren't getting enough phys ed, arts, music, and given that we had some debates about this, but I believe it's due to obsession on testing, and a lot of these secondary things that we view as secondary that should be integral parts of a robust curricula were sidelined, and therefore we decided that we would prioritize them in our spending and in our decision making. And I think that we should do that again. I feel like Councilperson Brannan has a bill and has a item in City Council asking that, requiring that we comply by more arts and phys ed education. I may have gotten music. I can't remember exactly what it says, but I feel like we should apply the same lenses as we did last time when making these decisions.
I could see how what they're doing. I think this is very COVID specific, Alan. I appreciate what you're saying, and I think they're going to disregard a lot of what we're saying in light of them preparing for an uncertain future. And perhaps bathrooms, obviously, you consider sterility and the need for hygiene, that they would want to prioritize bathrooms at this time when they didn't previously. And you don't want a dysfunctional bathroom. And also electrical upgrades, considering the potential for online learning and the increased use of technology. So I could see logically why they would go there. I don't think they're going to focus on the finer points at this point when they're looking to solidify their infrastructure.
Do we know what it means when it says project under review by the DOE? Under review by whom, or when
that's
is
what
there
Alice meant.
over? Yeah.
You said that it's basically the SDA says that's not something we do. That's something
Oh.
that DOE, building department has to take care of.
Right. Mhm.
I guess my point was that infrastructure, as you're saying, it should be a given. So it sucks that we're at this place, is what I'm saying. But okay, yeah.
Since we, Steve noted that the capital plan priorities released are exactly the same as last year and the funding's the same, and they haven't really, given any guidance given the new climate we're in. I wonder if it makes sense for us to reach out to these schools that we listed last year, especially the projects that say under review, and find out if they've heard anything about those, if it is in fact being handled by facilities. Also in our ask, when we ask them, what they're looking to do, but then to also follow up specifically around this list.
Also, there's a serious budget cut which I'm sure we're not really accounting for. I can't
Yeah,
imagine how much money they have.
it's going to come. I mean, we know it's going to come. Although keep in mind, a lot of the New York City capital planning gets funded through bond offerings, so it's not necessarily out of the operating budget, but it depends on their appetite for new bond issuance. And again, it's going to be challenging. And I'm just curious too about this is maybe not something for this current discussion, but sort of the new schools that are under construction. I've heard you guys talk about them over the past, year or so of meetings, and that's probably something we should expect an update on, right? The school on 59th Street, 746, right? That's probably worth inquiring about, and I'm just not. I don't know what the latest is there. And then the other one that I think we know that the elementary school, I'm forgetting the number right now, is going to open in September of next year. I think that one's on track. We got an email on that. So, but is that a separate part of the process from what we're discussing now with the project submissions to SCA?
Yeah.
Yep.
They will come to us for any new school that comes. I believe they come twice, once for a public speaking, and then once to actually speak on how they're going to populate it and all those.
Yeah, that's a separate
Right,
process.
that's a
Okay.
separate
And I
one.
think the issue that we've been raising with them is
Sorry.
that they often come to us for the zoning decision
Mhm.
after serious decisions have been made about what programs are going to be in that building.
Yep.
And what we want to try to do is say, okay, we can see a building coming online perhaps in 2 or 3 or 4 years. Let's start the conversation now about what kind of programs do we need in our district. Specifically, do we need programs for District 75? Do we need dual language? Things like that. So that's what
Right.
we've really been trying to push in these conversations is rather than thinking about what's about to go online that we need to approve tomorrow, what is our 4-year, 5-year plan for this district?
Right. Well, and I'm sorry to interrupt, but that's kind of not an SCA purview. That's something we need to discuss with the superintendent whenever they are appointed. Just because the SCA is going to say, well, we just build the buildings.
Right, but part of the conversation can be to think about, we know that they're bidding on some properties. We know, there's some things we can get from them that will help us understand what does the next 4 years look like as far as potential sites, potential things that the
So you're
department
saying
can
to
buy.
see where they're at, and then we can think about where we want to be with what kind of schools those become. Okay.
And we definitely have them considering more carefully D75 space when
Mhm.
they're looking at their allotments. So I think we're making some headway, but like you said, it comes from the superintendent and the superintendent's willingness to include us in that planning process.
Right. But we
which,
can push for it, certainly.
yeah, we have to, it'd be nice to know what's going on.
Okay, so just action items that we've been talking about for this. We're going to start a file, I guess, in the shared drive with questions for the SCA for their presentation in January. One of them, as Steve suggested, would be to ask about the new schools coming online. Per Simeon's suggestion, ask about what future sites they know are going to be constructed in the next 5 years, and we can start thinking about with our superintendent what kind of schools our district needs. And also we want to follow up with the schools on this list from the 2019-2020 school year, and see about specifically the ones where their projects were under review. Just how that process went, and did anyone follow up, and what department, etc. So that's 3 things. Can anyone else think of something else for action item for Natalia on this subject?
I'm sorry, Alice, I missed the last part. You said we are also going to update our liaison letters and be sure to include this capital spending as part of
Yes,
the communication, and do it this month.
right. So we want a capital spending paragraph in there.
Yeah.
Right. Okay, great. So that's 4 action items. Sounds good, everyone. Should we move on to the next, or are we still discussing?
No, I think we're good. Yeah, I think that was the last item on our business meeting agenda.
Was it?
Yes.
Well, we have 24 minutes.
Someone in the, I know this is not protocol, but somebody asked a question if we have time, in the group chat, but I wasn't quite sure what he meant. That's Louis Bonino.
I think he was talking about with the buildings and the future planning, what capacity means. And I think what we were talking about and SEA is talking about is this district doesn't have enough seats for its students. We're very overcrowded. We also don't have seats for special programs in our districts. We have a lot of students who have needs that are being sent outside the district for those needs, especially special education. So I think that we're trying to think about what new buildings and programs can we bring online, and how do we do that with existing space and also with new space, and coordinate all of that.
Is that accurate? Okay.
That's my interpretation of what he was asking about. But
What's up there? When Stephen was speaking, he said over 50% of the approved was about capacity. Stephen?
Yep. Of the approved, of the proposed city capital plan. So the 2020 to 2024 5-year capital plan proposed amendment,
It's to
about
make more space.
50%.
Yeah, it's to make more space.
Yeah.
so that could be extension
That's
for
correct.
buildings, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I didn't realize what the protocol was. I will.
That's
Hold
all
my
right.
tongue.
Since we
It's
had the
okay.
time, I apologize, Dina, for doing that.
No, that's exactly what I was asking. Thank you.
Fine. I did see that Dr. O'Brien joined. I don't know if he's joined or just getting ready for the calendar meeting, but we did also, going back to our discussion about our liaison schools and the redistribution, in past years, there was, when we could physically gather, that breakfast or lunch where we had an opportunity to meet principals, and there was mention, I think by Alice, of maybe there's a way we can do something virtually where, we can bring the principals together again with us, right, Alice? Is that what you were thinking? So
Yeah, once we have our schools together, if we could, for my 4 schools, have those principals and those PTA officers, and we could kind of do like breakout rooms, and they could, it's just an idea. I was thinking maybe for February, after everyone comes back from break and we see
There's
again
some-
where we're at with COVID and whether
There's
we're
some
going-
interest in doing a specific CEC PTA meeting as well, right? All the PTAs
I think,
and the
well, I
CEC
think we
get together
talked
and do
about
something.
doing a larger one. I don't know. I mean, what do you think, Vito? Do you think it's worth doing a more targeted one? I mean, we know.
Well, it's a Zoom, right? This would be, we could just, we could do something in
Or we could do
January.
one, and then we could do breakout rooms.
How many
I mean-
breakout rooms can you do?
I think like 10.
Yeah, you can do a lot. Mhm.
How would we break up the breakout rooms? Is that a
So,
stupid question?
Principals of our liaison schools, along with any PTA officers of our liaison schools, along with us. And
Okay,
if no, listen, some of us might not be available or might not be comfortable speaking. They can join another breakout room. It's not, there's no, we don't need to be particularly formal. It's a Zoom meeting. We just want to see their face and have them see ours and,
I like that idea.
yeah. But I was thinking to try to do it for February, which means we have to kind of.
Alan's got something.
Yeah, I think this is a good idea to start planning ahead and to create a structure for the forthcoming CEC. Look, Vito, you mentioned the vaccines earlier on. Depending on if there's equitable distribution, and I don't bargain that, but if there was, and we're back, and there's a larger population in the school, there's a larger, more people going back to in the school facilities for the fall, next fall, as in 2021. I don't know if you remember, but the SCA created a really interesting graph that I sent you all a few months ago, which found that in our district, that in terms of the definition of capacity that we were just talking about, found that as the schools are more diverse, the more overcrowded the schools are. The less diverse in terms of race and ethnic distribution, the least the capacity rates are lower, while all schools remain overcrowded in terms of use of facilities and space and so forth. So these are super important questions to start thinking about in the sort of post-pandemic context, given that inequalities have already been exacerbated.
So I think I know for a fact, and if anybody has other information, maybe Dr. O'Brien's here, teachers who have accommodations this year have already been told that they don't have to come back, right, for the rest of the school year. So I think it's reasonable to assume that we may be normal, we may have a normal world come September.
I don't think we should assume anything. That's my personal opinion.
I second that, Alice.
I think we learned, right, in March, we all really desperately wanted to go back in a month, and then it was another month, and then it was, and we just keep hoping. Let's just assume the worst and hope for the best. I mean, I just read the other day, which is apropos of nothing, but Bolivia actually gave all of its students the year off because they were like, there's no way everyone can keep up. So everyone will just have the same deficit, and we'll try this all again in September. I don't think that's a great idea. I mean, I think it works for a tiny country like Bolivia, but equitable.
We can also plan for multiple
Not
paths.
making assumptions.
We can plan for multiple
Right.
paths.
There you go.
If it's going to open, let's plan for this. If it's not going to open, let's have some contingencies.
Yes, contingencies. There you go, Simeon. I agree with that.
So maybe we can talk to Dr. O'Brien, just circling back about a potential Zoom gathering with principals and PTAs, and Vito, working with President's Council, if that's something that we jointly, want to think about.
Is Dr. O'Brien here?
Inga is having trouble unmuting. Oh, there she goes.
Yeah.
Could you make her a co-host?
Yeah, I think I was just unmuted, but now I can't see you guys. Can you hear me? Can
Yes.
people hear?
Yeah, you can't see us. Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, sorry. I actually did want to just make, just say one thing. If we want to think about it, at the recent borough presidency CEC meeting I attended, District 21 is actually working with the schools in their district to highlight students in their district at their upcoming CEC meetings. And I was wondering, that's something maybe we should consider. I mean, I know there's a lot of things going on, but I think, I hope we all agree, students being in school remotely, I mean, there's a lot of stuff lacking that schools had done in the past that aren't being done now, aside from academics. And so that, I just wanted to throw that out to see if maybe that's something we could also reach out to our schools about, to see if there's some type of an event we can help to coordinate virtually to do that. And obviously we can find out more information from D21, because I don't know exactly what they're doing, but something they mentioned.
I love it.
I think that's a great idea.
I know there was mixed feelings about the music at the beginning of our meetings, but wouldn't we all like to see a virtual performance of students in different places coming together? Come
Well,
on,
I don't know if
Alice.
it's
Come on, Alice.
I want to make a caveat. I don't think the mixed feelings, the performances themselves were actually my favorite part. I think the mixed feelings were how if we didn't get downstairs at 7:01, children were going to be hungry and we weren't finishing our business. So
Well,
those
we don't have that problem anymore.
no, well, yes, we don't. And look at our attendance has skyrocketed. But I actually really miss the student performances, and I think that's a great idea, and will make kids feel special. And we obviously need to work with Dr. O'Brien and principals and teachers on that. So let's put that
Okay,
on.
maybe I'll reach out to the D21 liaison, maybe just see if I can get some details from them, how they organized it.
Thank you, Inga. That would be amazing.
Okay, thanks.
Maybe we can talk to Dr. O'Brien about some of the district-wide events we used to have that, we used to have art fairs, science fairs, things like that, and find out if there was the virtual opportunities for all those that we could maybe advertise.
Well, I mean, I don't know what they're going to do for May. Obviously, it was canceled last year, but for like decades, there's been an arts festival in May, like you said, Simeon. But like the whole month, there's different performances at all the schools. So yeah, it'd be nice. Maybe we can organize some virtual thing in May. That'd be great. Put that on the list too. Okay.
That wraps
Hey,
up.
everyone, how are you?
Hi, Dr. O'Brien.
Hey, Doc.
How's everything going?
Good.
Great. How are you?
Doing well, doing well.
Did you just overhear what we were talking about the May Arts Festival? And
So I just quickly, as I was getting my suit on, I heard a couple of things. And Inga, I loved your idea regarding the highlighting student achievement. I think that's a terrific one, and one that I think that our district really needs now. This is something that we have students that are doing and achieving in ways that are truly remarkable, and it needs to be noted. And I think it would be a wonderful effort by our CEC to organize something like that. But did you have another question besides that, or?
We talked about, in past years, we had either luncheon or breakfast where CEC members had the opportunity to meet the principals of their liaison schools. And maybe this is something we can arrange virtually for February or late January, February, as we re-engage with our liaison schools.
That sounds great.
Yeah.
I think we could have our our meeting on Friday if everyone's available. We could discuss that at length and kind of review which CEC members liaise with which schools, and try to reestablish and reaffirm those relationships.
is that a 3:00 time again, Dr. O'Brien?
I believe so. I think Natalia set it up last time.
I believe so. Natalia, where are you? Yes? Unmute.
Yeah, I'm thinking now that with regards to having so many people, we'll probably have to make that like a registered meeting. That way I could put everyone in breakout rooms ahead of time so it doesn't take a million years to do.
Oh, you're talking about the breakfast.
All right.
We are talking
so-
about the Friday meeting with the superintendent now. But
Right,
yes,
that
we're
one.
going to have to do that way in advance.
Right.
I agree.
Yeah, but yeah, that's no problem. That's just,
So
set up the meeting
you
there.
did it last time. It was for 3:00,
Yeah,
3 to 4. Is that okay with you, Dr. O'Brien?
Sure.
Okay, great. So Natalia, if you can send out an email tomorrow and invite everyone, that would be amazing. Thank you.
We were also wondering about some of the district-wide events that were held in the past, and I was wondering if there are going to be any opportunities to do those virtually this year, like the arts fair or the science fair.
So we had a tremendous luck, Simeon, with our virtual STEAM Expo in May, and we could use that as a model for some of the other larger events. I will definitely bring that to the District 20 Principal Steering Committee and have them weigh in and share if they think that might be something that we might be able to do. But yeah, as been said before, this is a tradition in District 20, and I think even amid the pandemic, to hold true to those traditions is essential.
Great. So we'll shift some of these items on our agenda for Friday and we can discuss further.
Great.
Fantastic. All right, folks, I think that was it for our business meeting. Do you want to shoot the breeze for 10 minutes or get started on our calendar?
We really can't start it until 7.
Oh, we can't. Oh,
Oh.
Oh, okay.
Thank you, Vito.
No efficiencies around here. Got it.
No, because we advertised it for that time and.
Yeah,
that's what
okay.
we'll
Yeah.
expect to come.
So can I request, can I make a request? So I think, so I'm thinking that when we discuss our resolutions, we may have some debate amongst ourselves. Could we set something in place so that we don't step over each other? Either just get somebody to quarterback it, go over the ground rules, something. I just, I respect everybody here and I don't want to inadvertently step over anybody. And I want to be able to make sure that I get my points across.
I think that's a great idea. I think Steve will be joining us probably for the calendar meeting. So I would recommend him as the referee. But also I went ahead and shared to the drive, or I don't even know if I'm sharing it to the drive or if I'm sharing it with all of you. But anyway, I shared with all of you the Roberts Rules of Order cheat sheet again. So it's in the shared drive right now. Please feel free to look at it. I feel like yes, I agree, Vito, we should be timed. So if we go over, 2 minutes, we should.
So I checked this out. So
Okay.
CEC members are not supposed to be timed.
Okay,
And I don't have a problem. Listen, if I want to rant for 5 minutes, I should be able to. If Alan wants to rebut for 5 minutes, he should be welcome to.
right.
I just don't want to step over each other.
Well, I mean, we could have the mute rule. Like if you're not holding the talking stick, you need to mute yourself. That's it. We have to.
I mean, I would suggest if everybody could weigh in. I don't think Steve is the right person because he's face. Natalia is really part of us.
Right. Well,
I would-
just to act as the parliamentarian when we're in it. That's all I'm saying. If we use him as that kind of referee, it takes it away from us to have to police each other. But yeah, I think we should agree to certain rules right now, which is to mute yourself if you're not talking. And maybe Natalia, we can maybe put in the chat if we want to speak and just go in the order that we write it. And Natalia, you will call on us. Does that make it fair?
It's really up to Dina to, unless Dina's gonna, she's to moderate our discussions, and we should be recognized by Dina. Unless Dina wants to proxy that off to somebody else, but it's really, I think nobody should speak unless you've been recognized, and maybe you should find a way of being recognized. Maybe we can do it by putting in the chat that you tell Dina we would like to be recognized to speak.
Point of order, sorry to tell you, but point of order, we should be doing that every time we speak. Like just now, I should have said, Madam President, and you should have recognized me. And I mean, yes, we should be doing that all the time.
I
don't
withdraw my
there,
comments.
but
My apologies to council member Lovato.
Maybe we could try to be that formal during the resolution discussion if it helps us have a better conversation. But generally, I don't think we need to be that.
Thank you, Dean. I agree. I just want to share that other CECs are going through a lot of garbage, yelling, fighting, screaming, and I would like to see, even if we disagree, that we don't have to get there.
I think we're doing great today so far.
We haven't talked about anything yet.
Okay, so we are tabling the resolution debate, right? Can I actually ask to put up some new business or just a small discussion before we go on to our
Sure, go.
The money that's going to be in our budget, I really want to figure out how to spend that. Like right now, we're looking at like almost $11,000 unused reimbursement funds, like that we haven't personally used yet. And the year is young. And I just really want to make sure, and Steve said, I spoke to Steve about it, And he said last year, they were kind of letting anything go, which is maybe like because of COVID and no one knew what was going to happen next. So maybe that's why we were allowed to donate our monies to the transitional, to the shelters, but it might be harder this year. And so March is still the budget deadline. And I am concerned that we're going to lose an opportunity to really help families in our community. And I don't know how to do it. I need help. I'm asking everyone to brainstorm with me on ways to get around this. Steve said he would look into it with maybe other CECs. Natalia, if maybe you want to reach out to some other administrative assistants. I know some CECs are asking, forgiveness rather than permission. We can't do that so much with the budget, but things like, those EBT cards that were being handed out that a lot of us, me personally, I didn't need, and I had to go and buy the stuff and donate it. So some CECs are organizing food drives around those EBT cards, which are probably going to be issued again. Just to say that some CECs go ahead and just do their charitable work and then get permission from Faith later. I don't suggest that we do that, but I'm just really want to figure out how to get the money to the people that need it, since we're not going to use it. Some of it is already gone. Like that.
Is there anything
gone? Sorry.
No, my bad. Is there anything that is there anything that we think we could spend our money on so that we get store for next year?
Steve said that D15 is working on hotspots, and that's specifically what he's going to reach out to them. So I guess the VPNs, I'm not very technological myself, but you plug them into your device and it gives you, so that's something that maybe they're going to have success with. I don't know. I don't know the answer. We don't really have any numbers on how many children in our district don't have devices, because they just did a whole nother shipment. So after those kids get distributed the devices, then we know how many still don't have them, I guess. I don't know. But we have to know what we need before we can buy it. And we have to know what we can buy before we can budget for it. So
So what I was referring to is money for the CEC. So just off the top of my head,
okay,
can we have 12 members or 11 members? Should we buy 11 laptops that are strictly for use at CEC meetings? And we could all Zoom from wherever. And this is a CEC laptop with Zoom capability and with its own stuff.
and
that
then
would give that over to the next CEC member.
and then what happens? I mean, yeah, I don't know. I don't know the answer to that. I think that could get messy. I think people end up keeping laptops.
But we trust kids to give them
And
back.
are you talking about in terms of like the money that like for the months that have already passed that we cannot be reimbursed for anyway? So like every council member is entitled to $125 and the president gets $200. So that's every month. There's like almost $11,000 that we cannot use anymore. We can't be reimbursed for past months unless you're all sitting on receipts.
So I think we might still be able to, because I know.
We can't be reimbursed for more than that amount per month.
Right, but if everything is separated by month, like all your, whatever you have per month, I think you can still.
How much are they allowing us toward internet access?
I think they said.
You are supposed to figure it out. What's the maximum?
Natalia, Steve's here, but he can't unmute, so he can.
He should be able to. I made him co-host.
Which, by the way, that idea of being reimbursed for your internet usage, how do you figure out what you use?
Yeah,
especially if you have to have internet access to get email at any given time for CEC and to have
You're
communication.
supposed to estimate your time spent doing CEC work, and then I guess you divide that by the amount of total time you spent on the interweb, and then I don't know. It's a ridiculous ask.
$100 toward it, or whatever the maximum is toward your internet bill.
I don't know what the maximum is. They told you to calculate it, and then they didn't tell us what the maximum that we could. I guess because they knew everyone would just apply for the maximum.
And they did say the maximum is $75 per month.
Interestingly, they didn't offer the same thing to the AAs who are actually working from home and having to do. I mean, it's not interesting. It's horrible. But thank you, Yifeng, for that clarification. I didn't know that.
Well, there was a couple of emails that's being sent out. So personally, I am gonna apply. I think you could I think it could be paid back like until like July, I believe. So
Oh, yeah, it's still
yeah.
the beginning of the term when the budget starts.
Yeah, so I don't think, whatever that $11,000 should be going wasted if we don't claim them. I mean, honestly, we did use our cellular data usage, and we also use our internet to dial in for the
And if
meeting.
you want to apply, I think that's,
Okay,
I
I
think
can unmute
you'll
now.
still have money left over is my point. It doesn't really matter how much money per se, is that if we don't figure out a way to donate it, it's going to go poof in June. So there is some money on the table. Whatever that number is the number. But right now, we don't know even how to get it to the people who need it. So, say hi,
Well, there's also the possibility if you
Hi.
want to apply for that money, I think we should all consider a uniform amount, considering that we all have to have the same access. We don't know when our texts are coming in. We don't know when our emails are coming in. We don't know when we need to respond. The fact is you need access. And we can't have access if we're not available. So we all need that same exact, except for Dina, who has obviously an escalated access. And Alice potentially, because as secretary, the
Well,
amount.
so
Yeah.
I pay, I can't submit a bill for more than I pay for my internet. I pay
Well,
like
that's exactly it.
$50 a
Maybe
month.
we should consider something, I mean, I can't be, come on, I can't begin to calculate, but I really think that that should be something that is accounted for. And then if you want to donate that money that you're given,
Right,
then you have that ability. But again, that's money that's not going to be used otherwise.
right.
If I may can I just say one thing? Because I know it's already 7 o'clock, but just to address Alice's first question, maybe we should all just put a list together or send it to Natalia of how we would like to use the money to help the community. And Natalia, maybe you can work with FACE to just have them say yay or nay, or maybe they can give us some wiggle room on some of the items. Because otherwise, I just feel like we're always talking about this point and it's like in a vacuum.
No, you're right. So let's put that in the Google Drive as well. The title will be wish list for excess budget, and we need to adjourn our meeting.
Great.
Dina.
Yes. We're going to adjourn the CEC 20 December business meeting at 7:02. Do I call for it to be adjourned, right? Or do I just, okay, call to adjourn?
Second.
Third.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Great, thanks everyone. So we're gonna call our CEC 20 December calendar meeting to order at 7:02 p.m. Do roll call.
Yep. Okay, so hello everyone. Welcome. The president is still an open seat. So first Vice President Dina Gerges.
Here.
Second Vice President Robert Aguilar. Robert, unmute.
I saw him.
Okay, I see you too. Thank you for joining us. Alice Liccato, Recording Secretary here. Treasurer Inga Smolyar.
Here.
Alan Aja.
Here.
Mauricia Cadillo.
Here.
Yifang Chen.
Here.
Adele Doyle.
Here.
Vito Labella.
Present.
Simeon Stoltzberg.
Here.
And last but not least, our newest council member voted in during our November meeting. Welcome to Stephen Stowe.
Here.
Hi, welcome, Stephen. Okay,
Thank you.
call to order complete.
Just a few housekeeping notes. As usual, we'll have public speaking on the agenda today. It will be before our resolution discussion and vote. We will reserve 30 minutes for public speaking with 3 minutes per speaker. And if you would like to speak, Natalia posted the link to sign up to speak in the chat box, and we'll continue to do so as the meeting progresses. Also, our next meeting is January 13th.
Yes.
Yes. 6 p.m. business, 7 p.m. calendar meeting. And I think that's it.
Just during the public speaking, we do have a section for your role, and if any PTA officers would like to speak, we'd like to invite them to speak first. It doesn't have to be on the resolutions per se, but we just want to give the opportunity for PTA members to do their public speaking first, and then we'll take the rest of the public. So, thank you.
Great. Thank you.
And then are we, so the first item next is the old business, which is the approval of the November calendar meeting minutes. Has everyone had a chance to review, and are we ready to vote? And can I get a vote?
I have just a couple of questions.
Yeah.
S- Section 5, letter C, talks about posting our meetings. And I just want to clarify that that means posting to YouTube, as that was the discussion.
That is correct, yes.
Okay.
There was a mention about live on Facebook, but there was no decision about that. So we're
Okay.
just talking about moving the recordings of the minutes to YouTube because we didn't have enough file space in our Google Drive.
Okay. And then section 6, were Michael Loeb and Paulette Healy part of the PTA president's report, or is that part of the public speaking?
That's a great question. Do we have a title on Michael Loeb, Natalia?
I think that was just public speaking.
Okay.
But
I'll go back and check and update it.
He's a PTA president.
Yeah,
I think he is.
he was PTA president, yes.
Okay.
So that's the same thing, like we invite the PTA presidents to go first during public speaking. So I think that was just why it's broken down that way. Thank
Okay,
you.
I just want to clarify that those were all PTA presidents. It wasn't just Janine reporting from the president's council. Okay,
Right. Thank you.
that's it.
Okay, so do we have any other questions, or can we get a motion to approve?
I move to approve.
Okay, I
I
second.
second, third.
Great. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, motion passes. Minutes, calendar minutes from November are approved. Thank you, everyone.
Can I just have a point of order? I don't know if that's appropriate, Robert's rules. I just want, just one question, unless I misheard. Dina, you mentioned there's 3 minutes for public speaking, or, because I thought it was 2 minutes per bylaws or something, or past meetings.
Our past meetings were 2 minutes, and then I think we checked our bylaws, or we conferred with Steve at FACE and learned that it was 3 minutes actually. So I think last meeting we also did 3 minutes instead of 2. Or maybe the last 2 meetings we moved to 3 minutes.
So
Okay.
as per New York State, I believe the rules are actually 3 minutes, and there is nothing in the chancellor's regulations to negate that. So 3 minutes is the allowed time.
Do our bylaws have it as 2 though?
I don't think our bylaws say anything, and
I
even
see.
if you're welcome to find it, I actually have them up somewhere, so I'd have to look through it. But regardless of what our bylaws say, they are not, they are voided if the city or the state bylaws
Overrides them.
exactly overrides. That's the word I was looking for that I couldn't find.
I understand. Okay, thanks.
Thank you, but I'll look into it and let you know for sure in our bylaws.
I trust you, Alice. It's okay.
Aw, thank you. I trust you too. Okay.
Great. So let's move on. I think the next item of business is our officer election.
Yes.
Yes, great. Okay, so are there any, our open seat is the office of the president. Are there any nominations for office of president?
I nominate Simeon Stoltzberg.
Second.
I'd like to nominate Stephen Stowe.
You have the opportunity to accept. I think you have to accept or
Both of you do, yeah.
reject.
Yeah.
You have to weigh in on that, Steve.
Wow. I guess I'll accept, and
Okay, great.
that's right. That's what I'm supposed to say.
Yes, well,
Sorry, Steve. We do need a second on it too, not to, run away with proceedings.
Actually, we don't, because
Oh, we don't.
You can self-nominate. for president.
Okay, very good. All right. Thank you, Steve. I didn't mean to throw you under the bus, so to speak.
out of respect, I'd like to nominate Dina if she would be interested, since she's done such a great job.
thanks, Vito. No, I decline. Thank you, though. Okay, any other nominations? Okay, so each nominee will have 2 minutes if they'd like to make a statement. Steve, we'll start with you and then Simeon, unless any objection to that order. Great.
Sure. I don't know exactly what to say. You know, I am super excited to be on the CEC. As I've told you guys, it's pretty clear that I'm still learning a lot about the CEC. I'm not the type of person who pretends they have all the answers about things. I know a lot of you know a lot more about education than I do. So I would definitely rely on the sort of the range of viewpoints on the council. I'm sort of incredibly appreciative of where everyone's coming from, and getting to know you virtually over the last year or so. I've been following the meetings. What I would bring to the position, I guess, is my background. My day job, I'm a manager, I'm an analyst. I'm very interested in understanding issues, setting deadlines, working efficiently. And I would try to do that in the role of president, not necessarily the sort of the expert on everything, but just trying to help us work together. Some of the thoughts I've had about the CEC since I've got to know D20 is, things like working on communication, and the liaison school outreach is a huge positive, I think, that we can do. Building the communication networks with the schools, with parents. And then sort of a second point I have is just kind of focusing the discussion and trying to bring a lot of the energy and a lot of the opinions that are out there that we hear about at the public meetings, that we hear about in between meetings, and bring those to sort of a focus and set priorities and work accordingly, and hopefully achieve successful outcomes for the organization. I think it's really important in the current environment, obviously, given everything that's going on. And I understand CEC's roles are not a ton of tangible power, but I think we can exercise a lot of soft power and soft influence, especially if we have the schools and the parents, if we're clear on their issues and what they want and what they're going through. So I'm extremely honored that Adele would nominate me, and I would try to sort of win all of your sort of support and confidence as president. So thank you.
Steve, Simeon, would you like to make a statement?
Sure. It's what I've said for the last couple of meetings, which is I think I bring to the council a lot of experience in public education that I've raised. I think.
Oh, Simeon, you're muted. Something happened.
There, something muted me. I don't know. Sorry. So I was going to say, I'm going to say what I've said for the last couple of meetings, which is I've had a long career in public education. I think I understand the issues pretty thoroughly. I have raised for the last year or so, I think, a number of serious issues, which I'd really like to see the CEC grapple with and move forward on, including District 75 issues in special education, equitable distribution of resources across this community, building space and capacity, the services and the programs and curriculum we have for low-income students and at-risk students. So those are some of the issues that I really want to bring to the fore. And I also think I have a fairly good understanding of sort of the different stakeholders and constituencies, the structures, so the SLTs and the PTAs and the district office and things like that. So I'd look forward to working with all of those and bringing us all together and really activating some of the communities to get some of this work done outside the meetings as well.
Great, thank you, Simeon. So Natalia will conduct a roll call vote now.
Everyone please unmute themselves.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Do we need a discussion on this? Or is this something that we're
Probably executive session.
I know.
I don't think we have, I don't think that's in the protocol, even though I'm not reading script.
I would move to do a straight up and down vote. Or I move to do a straight up and down roll call vote.
Steve, is there an option for discussion? Stephen? No, I say two different Stevens.
You want to make a motion?
Make a motion for an executive session?
If you'd like, yeah, you could, and you just have to be voted on.
And it'd have to be a majority rule to go to executive session, or 3?
Six votes.
6 votes. That would be interesting.
You want to make a motion, Adele?
Yeah, I think if we're gonna get anywhere, I'll make a motion. Motion to vote on executive session to discuss candidacies.
Anyone want to second that?
I'll second it.
Okay. All in favor of moving, or do we want to?
We should do a roll call. 'Cause
Yes, okay. Mhm.
Okay. Natalia.
Dina Gergis.
No.
Okay. Robert Aguilar,
No, I think we should just vote.
Alice Licato,
Same, I think we should just vote no.
Inga Smolyar,
I would say no. I think we should just vote.
Alan Aha,
No.
Marisa Cadillo,
Yes.
Yifeng Chen,
I don't really mind, so it's either way.
Abstain?
Yeah. Say abstain, Yifeng, if you don't care.
Yeah, I can abstain.
okay. Adele Doyle,
Yes.
Vito Labella,
The vote. Nobody wants to discuss anything.
Veto.
All right, let's go for a vote. He said no.
Oh, he shook his
You're
head.
muted.
Oh, I didn't see it.
I
Okay.
read lips.
No.
Okay.
well, this is only fair ask Simeon.
Yes.
Uh,
Wait,
Yes,
so
and-
do you want to go to executive session? That was a yes,
Yeah.
okay. And Stephen,
Stephen.
Yes. Yes.
So 3 yeses, 1 abstain, everybody else said no. All right, but 6 no's.
the noes have it.
So let's move on with the vote then. Talia, if you could do another roll call.
Mhm.
Let's just specify what we're voting on.
Yes, we're voting for the officer of president. And you have to say the person, you vote with the person that you're voting for, the name of the person.
Yes.
Can we comment before we vote? Is that allowed?
I think so, yeah. Why not?
Okay, Dina Gergis.
I vote for Simeon.
Okay. Robert Aguilar,
I vote for Simeon.
Alice Licato,
Vote for Simeon.
Inga Smolyar,
I'll vote for Stephen.
Alan Aha,
I vote for Simeon.
Marisa Cadillo,
I vote for Steve.
Yifeng Chen,
I vote for Steve.
okay, Adele Doyle,
I think we need a new direction. I vote for Steve.
okay, Vito Labella,
I just want to tell Simeon that I really respect him and I like his work, but I need to vote for Stephen at this time.
okay, Simeon Stolzberg,
Simeon.
Stephen Stowe,
Steve.
okay.
Congratulations, Steve.
So we got 5 votes for Simeon. And 6 votes for Steve.
Steve, congratulations on being elected the president of CEC 20.
Thank you.
So quick to congratulate him, Dina. You know how it is. Wish him
Well,
luck.
she's congratulating him because she's very.
Nice. You take over now?
Uh,
That's my question. Do you,
Dina has to go do a happy dance right now.
Congratulating
But,
yourself.
can Steve Weiser weigh in on whether I facilitate the rest of this meeting or?
Yeah.
just-
Technically, no. I mean, Stephen's the president now.
Oh,
Isn't
okay.
there some?
Ready to assume control, Steve, or?
I'd like to apprentice under Dina at the current time.
Dina says no.
Nope, it's all you. Until I post up that agenda, Steve will take over. No, I will continue.
Thank you.
I will help you.
Thank you.
Great.
Okay, so, sorry, just for the record, Dina will continue to chair the remainder of the December 2020 calendar meeting, and Steve Stowe, our newly elected CEC 20 president, will be apprenticing under and will take over official duties starting in January. On January 13th, for everyone listening, that's our next CEC meeting. Thank you.
Well, he'll take over official duties
Right, immediately.
tomorrow. Yeah, or today. Yes, but chairing. Yes.
Sharing, exactly.
Okay.
Right.
Just making sure.
Yeah.
Apologies, Dina.
Okay, so let's move on to the next item on our agenda, and that's a report from interim acting superintendent, Dr. O'Brien.
Good evening, everyone. How are you?
Evening.
It's great to see you all. It's been a very busy week. This week, as many of you know, all our K through 5 schools all reopened on Monday, and with all that comes with that, right? And what I'm consistently amazed by has been the terrific work by our principals, by our assistant principals, and our teachers in getting this incredible shift in order to keep our students safe and to ensure that teaching and learning continues even amid this spike in the pandemic. What I've done for tonight, I wanted to share some key information with you regarding a very important matter, and that's around our devices. Right now, we have delivered, the Department of Education has delivered 11,532 devices to District 20 families, with an additional 2,607 devices remaining to be delivered. Now, each of those, I know that's a large number, but each of those students, what makes it even more of a challenge is that each of these students right now, we are unsure how how they can participate in much of the work when it's digital. So we are working hard with the executive superintendent to ensure that these devices will continue to be distributed. Additionally, in light of the COVID-19 pandemic, we reached out to Deputy Chancellor Austin to ask her if she might be able to help us and help our families get a little more information around what we can do. And I know that one member from her team and from the health official is here with us. Jeff, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Thanks
Hi.
for coming tonight.
No, thank you. Thank you all for your time.
So Jeff, I was hoping I might
Okay,
be able
great.
to share with us a little bit about, some information for our families.
Sure, absolutely. Thank you everyone for giving up some of your time to me and the city. My name is Jeff Tumkitikasem. I'm actually the director for the Mayor's Office of Operations. And our office broadly coordinates a lot of interagency efforts. Since the onset of COVID, I've been the testing lead for the city to expand capacity, explore kind of the different options around it, working with kind of both academic, the health professionals as well, to kind of pull together a lot of the efforts around new testing, expanding testing options across the city. I wanted to take a little bit of time here just to talk a little bit through kind of the testing operations that we now have within our schools, which we feel are pretty vital to ensuring that we've got safe school reopenings. I just will go through a little bit of history just to give everyone a bit of context, because things have changed as we've reopened amidst a bit more broad citywide increase in positivity. When we first set this out, we all worked with people within the administration and with several of our partners across the city, as well as consistently talked to representatives across the state in other municipalities, and starting to really take a look at what would be possible to create a safe environment for reopening schools. We took a lot of examples from the international community as well. A lot has been done in Europe and in Asia as well, in other countries, and so took a look at their models. What I wanted to paint a picture for you is kind of what we are doing now, and start first by saying that we developed a prevalence survey testing program. And I want to be clear on that because there have been some misconceptions. The point of the testing operations within the school system is not, in fact, to test every single individual, but to identify and test a percentage of staff and students to understand prevalence throughout the entire year. It would identify broadly what that prevalence was for the entire school system, but also take a look at individual schools, by borough, by school districts, allow us to cut that information in different ways. Obviously, what you've heard in the news, and we're very happy about, is that all of the different safety protocols have proven that at least in that first tranche, and at least in the initial information we've gotten the last 2 days, is that schools remain safe with a very low positivity rate. We ended before we closed back in November at about 0.27%. And that was the positivity in our schools. In our last day of school testing, when we reopened, and just that first day, we were still in that ballpark at 0.3%. So things remain hopeful. I want to walk through then that we moved from a monthly testing to a weekly to account for the fact that things are a bit more, positivity is higher. But again, because we were looking at prevalence, we are not trying to attempt to identify every single individual. It's really so we can take actions broadly. When we do identify positives, we have strict protocols that allow for the closure of schools to investigate. If there are any two unlinked cases, then the school is closed. If they are linked, it is a little bit easier to isolate simply the pod. The example is simply that you might have two cases, but they are actually a brother and sister. You can link them to the same family, so it isn't something that we have to kind of concern ourselves with broad transmission. The contacts are identified through our test and trace program, and any follow-ups from those, we bring at-home test kits to any of the contacts if they need it, but we also encourage them to go get tested themselves. So the program is basically put out by, we have basically brought on 3 providers. They are 3 providers who have an extensive history in testing. One is BioReference, most popularly at least. They helped us with the Health and Hospitals program in the very beginning. Most popularly, they recently have been basically doing the testing for the NBA bubble and the NFL. We also brought on Somas Community Partners. They are a community provider that is very deep within the communities of Northern Manhattan and in Brooklyn, a particular focus on pediatric doctors and nurses. And they're usually trilingual, if at least bilingual, in Spanish and in Mandarin. We also brought in Fulgent for another provider. They have done a lot of work in advancing kind of new technologies around testing. They advanced the first at-home test kit. We're not using it here, but just to give you that level set. Each of those teams is essentially assigned a number of schools, and we have kind of basically put together weekly schedules. We have in fact actually oversampled, we overschedule Monday through Thursday because we do know that demand has been super high since we reopened schools. More staff and students actually want to get tested than we identify. We usually send out a list that comprises 20% of student and staff. And so we, test those people. And then essentially when principals and other students, school staff want more testing, we stay to test them. And we have been regularly testing double or triple the basic 20% because of demand. That's not because we actually assign that. It's actually because other people want to come down and get tested while our teams are there. So that has been hopefully very helpful. we have been doing a lot of that testing. All the reports out of results are within 24 to 48 hours. 86% of the results that we get are within 24 hours. There have been a couple of, I think, less than 2% that actually have fallen out of that window because of a retest, or there was some inconclusive nature and they had to rerun the test. All of the information that is collected from those tests is saved for about 5 days just to make sure that there aren't questions, but then kind of destroyed. There's no samples left over or kept. I know that that was a question about some of this testing. And these are all providers that have worked within the communities well before they did any testing with the city or with the Department of Education. And a lot of the results, we very much proactively, if there are positives, make active pursuits to call and identify the people immediately that they're positive. For all the negatives, anybody who's tested or given information about a portal they can go to, they can also call the situation room or call for results from the providers themselves to get their negative results. But ultimately, if you haven't received an active phone call, it means you're negative, and we're really kind of focusing on identifying the positives and then doing the tracing from there. So this is a program that right now is running through our K through elementary. To be very clear, it only tests the students for grades 1 through 5. We are not testing the students for kindergarten and pre-K, but we are testing their staff. We'll be moving on to D75's students and staff on Monday. And obviously we're working to build up capacity so that we can also reopen middle schools with the same testing protocols. I would just add that the testing is a main focus of what I'm talking about, because that's kind of what I have been leading up for both the city and for the school. But it is supposed to work in concert with all of the other safety protocols that we put in place in terms of social distancing, mask, just kind of the cohorts. And as we move towards different configurations of the class, those are all added to what this testing is, which is one of many different protocols they've put in place. And I think all of you are more familiar with that than even me, but wanted to speak to the fact that this testing strategy is only supposed to work in concert with all of the other efforts that are in place, which is why we can see when positivity is low. You know, any kind of spikes that we see within the community are not yet directly translating, particularly on the younger school, because there's been less kind of, younger children kind of move within their family unit and they don't kind of have the access. In terms of the national studies, certainly there's a lot more transmission at the higher grades where people might not stay within their stricter family unit, high schools being, and then college being a totally separate thing where people are interacting more often. And so there seems to be more transmission there. And then finally, I will just kind of conclude with, I feel certainly strongly, I think a lot of people at the DOE and the city, that this testing protocol is important for safety. And it really requires a lot of your participation in terms of getting in the consents. I know there's a big push this before and this entire week to get consent in. So I would just kind of close with kind of just making that request that staff and parents all get their consents in. It's the way that we can kind of really understand what the prevalence is. It's our ability to say that it is different than the community transmission right now. And it is also our ability to kind of make adjustments for each individual school, for whole districts, and for other even borough-wide if necessary, if we see trends moving in the opposite direction. And knock on wood, right now, that's not what we're seeing. So all of that consent is available on the DOE website in multiple languages. We truly encourage people to get on there and sign that consent so we have that. And I'll certainly, on my side, continue to work on advancing and improving on the testing program we have from the beginning, moving from monthly to this weekly, making it easier, and also making sure that the reporting is faster. So thank you all again for your time. I'm happy to take any questions, but I really appreciate your ability to kind of give some time for me to explain all of that. Thank you.
Thanks. Jeff. I know we do have a couple council members that would like to ask questions, so appreciate
Sure.
you willing to take them. I'll call Adele and then Vito and Yifeng after that.
Hi, Jeff. Thanks for coming. And so the way you make the consent sound, it sounds like it's optional, but we know that parents have basically been strong-armed that they can't return to in-school learning unless they sign this form. Is that accurate? Or is
Yeah,
it optional?
No, it is mandated. I think that what I meant is essentially that we were asking for all parents to provide their consents before their children return to school or on the day that they return to school, because we have had some cohort days, people hadn't had their first day. So we're still pushing for anyone before they go in for their first day. And as well, if you haven't, and if you can, before your child returns, then do it. But at some point, then those children will be moved to remote. Yes.
So the question I have to ask then in this whole process, and this is what's been very difficult for parents,
Sure.
that we were not in any way consulted in the formulation of this plan. Parents have requested repeatedly that they be allowed to go to their own provider because particularly with young children, they don't want to relinquish their authority over their children or their guidance over their children in such what could be a traumatic experience. No matter what you say, this is something that parents are very, very, very concerned about. So
Sure.
why can't parents, especially if you have biomedical lab coming to you, why are parents still being refused the opportunity? And I can understand protocols, et cetera, but in considering, particularly since the CDC themselves say it's not a good idea to implement this type of program in the school because of parent concerns over who is looking over their children when applying medical tests. What is the reasoning other than logistics? What is the reasoning that would say that it's okay for parents to give up this sort of guidance for their children and put children in this situation?
Sure. There are 3 points. The first is, as I explained in the beginning, part of the thing that we are trying to do is a prevalence study. And the point of the prevalence is to make sure you know exactly when the tests are happening in what area. A lot of times when in the beginning, before we opened schools, we made available a lot of testing in the community and also invited people to kind of get tested in their own practitioners. But that doesn't work for the prevalence testing because you want a point in time when the test is conducted and when you get those results and it's consistent, so you know exactly what's happening in that school. A lot of times you don't know exactly when people are tested, and you can send in a test result, but also there's no way to then actually kind of record that and make sure for our own analysis that that's available. That's a kind of a skirting the line, totally admit. Part of it is the logistics of the reporting, but part of it really is about knowing at a single point in time when that test is happening in what school and what population. That's one. The second is I actually had not, heard that there was any strict guidelines on the CDC. We've looked pretty consistently to the CDC, including, several of our staff had talked to both on the federal level and at the state level, talking about the school testing program. And we have not seen anything that kind of pushes against the fact that an in-school testing program, if anything, we have had, and I certainly have had many conversations with several municipalities across the country who are wondering how we stood this up and how they can learn from us to do the in-school testing. That's the gold standard that they want to put in place. And then the third thing is we have seen from other countries in standing up some programs like this, that the idea of actually doing the testing in program also ensures we know exactly what type of tests are running, because now there are a lot of different tests out there, from antigen to PCR, that we want to make sure we exactly know what type of test, because there are a lot of questions out there about what individual practices are using, and they're not always clear about what results are coming from what type of test. So by operating within the school, within 3 providers that all have the same tests, we know that the results are coming, that are consistent across any test that we're doing within the schools.
Okay, but to rebut, at least a month ago, it was very clearly stated on the CDC website that this type of testing is very difficult to apply to a school setting because of infrastructure difficulties
Yeah.
and concerns of parents. And it does say that very specifically. And we did forward that to Central, that link.
Yeah.
But more considerately, if especially again, had parents been considered more carefully in this equation, and again, because of CDC guidance, why aren't we using tents outside of the school so that parents have the option of a walk up to be near their child so that they do have the ability to be there, and you can still have your protocol in place. And plus, it's more compliant with CDC guidance.
I would just say two things on that one. One, obviously on the tenting, as the weather gets worse and we're planning for something that's kind of across the city, you know, we have had to shut down outside tents for community testing because of weather. And that consistency we want to make sure is available to all of the school testing because we're doing it so frequently every week. And again, on the CDC side guidance, we have had updated conversations with the state and the federal government on this. And the in-school testing is, you know, fine. From there, I would look again. I'll look just to make sure. I mean, I don't want to kind of deny, but there's from an updated standpoint, they have not, you know, had any problems with kind of an in school. I'm sure they're recognizing parents' concern. I think that's right, but there isn't a logistic or infrastructure kind of concern they have. It is hard. They did say it would be hard, and that's why a lot of municipalities and states are calling us to say, how did you do it? We want to do it. They said it was hard, but they didn't say don't do it because it was hard.
No, but they do. And again, I'm an academic, so I trust me. Sorry, I appreciate it. I'm not sure if I'm still in the same place where we're not getting the answers. And my parents are really.
I would love to give the answer. That just that this is why we designed it and how we designed it. I'm happy to answer any more on that.
Again, why haven't parents?
And then Alan, just for the sake of time, because we have a lot on the agenda, and then maybe we'll circle back. So Vito, Yifeng, posted a question or read out loud, then Alan. Thanks, Del.
Thank you, Jeff. Just for clarity, could you please tell me what your title is and which office are you from?
Yeah, I'm a director for the Mayor's Office of Operations.
So do you have a medical background? What's your background? It's not medical, it's policy. Are you an attorney? What is your background?
Oh, no, I mean, my background actually is as, you know, an operator. My whole point is to take the different policies, concepts, and other things and to operationalize them. My role within the city often is to essentially take and work with kind of the different parties involved to kind of create a program that actually mixes those things. I work closely with, you know, I'm on the test and trace leadership team. I work with, you know, Dr. Jay Varma and Dr. Ted Long, as well as kind of for this purpose with the labs and the Department of Education, test and trace, and the Department of Health and Human Services, you know, kind of just to pull all that together for the execution of a testing program.
Great. Well, so thank you. So you have the mayor's ear. Yes, you have the mayor's ear?
I mean, insofar as I work for him, yes.
So look, I just want to be reasonable. I have parents that just want to be reasonable. And again, we come back to a very simple ask. I would like to ask the mayor and you and whoever it is that can make this very simple decision to just try to allay the fears of parents who are anxious about their small child being handled by a stranger. And we could do it 20 different ways. We could set up a small isolation room in the front. Honestly speaking, there's drive-in testing that they do some places. We could go out with an umbrella to shield the child and the parent could wave from 8 feet away. If you just think outside the box, we could give parents who are very, very anxious and very, very concerned about this, rightly or wrongly, it's not for any of us to say what another person's anxiety level, especially with their children, is appropriate. So I'd like to ask you to just convey to whoever you have to convey this to, that all we're looking for is a reasonable accommodation for parents who want to be in the vicinity where their child is being tested. Now, if the child is positive, then the parent is probably positive. So I don't think having a parent in the vicinity puts anybody in any extra risk. And please, I think that if we just put our heads together, I think we really could come up with a reasonable protocol to accommodate these parents. Thank you.
I'll bring it back to the department. Yeah.
Thanks, Vito. Yifeng posted her question. Yifeng, do you want to ask it out loud, or you want me to-
Yeah, I could ask out loud. So I understand that recently on December 8th, the steering committee sent out a letter. Basically on the first item, I understand that the immunization records are being granted like extended deadline to December 11th. So I'm just wondering, like, will this, like, is that possible for this whatever deadline to be further extended? Because as you can see in the chat, like, especially for the remote students, like, some parents may not be comfortable for whatever reason. Like, if there's elderly at their house, right, they don't want to take their kids out to a medical facility during this pandemic time. And also, like, this also applies for regular vaccine shots, and then like wellness physical check. Like, is it possible those like requirements to be waived in order for the kids to be still like registered at the school? Because since it's 100% remote for the students, like, why take the resources away from the healthcare workers, and at the same time risk the students to unnecessary contaminations?
I will bring that back for the parental and kind of student side. I know from our doctors in the healthcare, they want to do the immunizations. So I don't know if they feel that it's a burden on their side, but I certainly will bring it back insofar as it might be a burden on kind of parents and students to kind of get it done.
Yeah, personally for myself, because like I have elderlies at my house, and then I'm keeping my kids inside, and we're doing 100% remote. All this because we don't want unnecessary risk, So I really hope you could bring this back to mayor's office.
I will bring it back. I will also, though, just both Dr. Choksi and Dr. Long have pushed pretty hard that they want more immunization and other kind of vaccinations to happen sooner, just given kind of the weather turning. But I accept it. I will bring that back, at least for the parental concerns.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Yifeng. And Alan, I think you're up.
Jeff, thank you for being here. Thank you for the work that you do. I just want to say we're about to debate a resolution on this, and not everyone is of the same opinion in terms of perspective, in terms of the questions being asked. You partially answered my question about the importance of having a test that emits efficacy when it's a point in time. This is something a difference of perspective I have based on, I'm also an academic, and I think that you answered that quite well in terms of having a point in time test to ensure that it is a robust and valid, replicable and reliable study. That's what we do as researchers. But my question was, is it likely that the reason why we have such a low rate or lower rate is also something that I've noticed epidemiologists have pointed out. I noticed that in a poll, 75% of epidemiologists have said we should actually be closing down the school facilities. Is it because we're not testing enough? Or also, I want to give due credit to the principals and teachers and the staff who do an amazing job of keeping everyone safe. But is that, if I can take the conversation elsewhere here, the question is the low positivity rate because we're not testing enough?
So based on what I've seen, I don't believe so, but only because I will also say this, we have considerably ramped up our testing. We had started at around 4,000 a day and are currently, the last 2 days, been testing almost 11,000 a day. So we have increased the testing, and the positivity still is staying pretty low.
I don't know why that keeps, sorry, Jeff, you went mute. I don't know.
Sorry. Okay. I'm not sure where it cut off, Alan, but just basically that we have increased testing. The positivity has stayed low. Based on what we've seen so far, we don't see correlation in that more testing hasn't actually resulted in more positivity either.
Great, thank you. I think we have time for one more, Stephen, and then I'll just sum it up after that.
Sure. Jeff, can you just comment on how the city's testing policy overlaps, if at all, with the state's policy around schools and hot zones, orange and red zones? Just sort of some commentary on whether are there situations where the state is using its own providers and schools are getting tested in the same weeks or the same days. How does that overlap, if at all?
Yeah, so while we have coordinated with the state, it overlaps only in that we're doing more than the state has set as a basic standard. In their orange and red zones, whereas they said they required 20% testing per month, or red 30% per month, we're basically doing 20% per week. And the state is also requiring the testing in school within those zones. So the overlap is just that. I think we're doing more than that, and we're coordinating with the state, and they obviously see our data, and we consult with them. When we reopened, we communicated to them our plan to make sure that regardless of what changes they might make, we did not want to close the schools and reopen them. So for consistency, we went above their basic requirement to ensure that even if they had to ratchet up, we were already in a ratcheted up space.
So you're coordinating so that there's not these situations where a school is getting hit on the same day or the same week. I mean, is that the kind of coordination you're talking about?
That's right. Yeah. I mean, actually, to be very honest with you, Stephen, state does not test in our schools. They provide materials for testing. So they provide a certain set of tests for any school that requires it. But because we're providing all the tests from a city standpoint, they don't need to. So we do offer those tests to kind of some of the private schools. The states work with them. They also give them to the upstate schools.
Okay. And basically, just so I make sure I heard you right, you're saying your rate of testing, the level that you're doing per week, automatically exceeds what the state might require for a red zone school. Is
Yes.
that right? Okay.
Yes.
Thank
They're
you.
30% per month. We're doing 20% per week.
And that's students and staff inclusive, right? Both of those.
Mm-hmm.
Great. Thank you, Steve. Jeff, just 2 points that came across. One was a question from one of our principals around translated letters about the testing. I think I understand that schools are translating the letters themselves, or they're working to get the letters translated. Is anything from your office coming out around translating the information around testing for families?
Yeah, I think that the DOE directly, not my office, but DOE directly is kind of expanding. I think that they had gotten into just the Spanish and Mandarin, but they were working on the other 6 major languages and working on that translation.
Yeah, you
But
don't
I
have
don't.
an idea of ETA.
I don't. I will find out for you though, but I don't.
And is there a specific office or someone principals or school leaders should follow up with to find out when that would be coming?
I would check directly right now with the first Deputy Chancellor's office, but I will definitely kind of make it known to them so they can get back to you directly.
Great.
And should it be you, Dina?
Yeah, I mean, you C20 or myself.
Okay, I'll go through Joseph.
Yeah, or Dr.
Joseph,
O'Brien.
we're done. Yeah. Okay.
Great. And then just the one final wrap up thought, you've heard from council members, a lot of the concern maybe isn't around, the importance of the testing, but about parent access to their kids while they're getting tested. And as a CEC, we're trying to brainstorm through this resolution that we're presenting ways in which that need can be met for parents, especially ones that are really concerned about their children not having a good experience with the testing. One of the thoughts that we had was around FaceTiming parents. I mean, is there anything, to be present sort of virtually while their kids are being tested? Is there anything your office would be willing to entertain or, is entertaining around how parents can be present when their children are getting tested?
So, since we moved to the mandated testing, we haven't. And I'll just be honest with you, before, we had been very clear about saying that any test teacher that, this is a prevalence test. it's not meant to kind of test anybody who doesn't feel well or anything. And so we had encouraged kind of parents to go get their children tested, to their own providers and just if they needed it. Since the positivity has gone up and we've had to kind of institute this program, we have not kind of considered kind of the test parents on site, both logistically and kind of because of the basically program to move them in throughout the day. It hasn't been something that we could accommodate. From a FaceTime thing, I mean, I think we can try and figure out with the DOE centrally how that would work within the schools. It would be an effort that would really require more time, so fewer tests on the throughput level. It hasn't been something that we've seen as required. So obviously, in terms of allaying fear, we should consider it. Now, we'll certainly bring it back. I haven't thought of anything that would have kind of that in-person access, but certainly from a technical, standpoint, if we can kind of guarantee some sort of connection on that and have people kind of readily available to receive those things, maybe it would work more as a try, and if not, then move forward, but we can take a look at it.
Great.
Yeah.
Thank you, Jeff. Appreciate it. Dr. O'Brien, did you have any final thoughts or wrap up for?
Yes, please. Absolutely. Once again, I really just want to thank Jeff for coming tonight and sharing with us this key information. It's so timely and so needed here in our district. And I really want to thank you for coming and taking the time out tonight.
Great. No, thank you all. Thank you very much for all you're doing as well, really.
Great.
Additionally, I'd like to say congratulations to Steve as the new CEC president. It's wonderful news. And Steve, you'll quickly learn this district is unlike any other district in the world. The level of acumen from and ability from our principals, teachers, and APs is extraordinary. And tonight we have over 40 members of our District 20 instructional team here with us on this call. And likewise, I asked them to come, and I know the CEC had an opportunity to share with them to invite them personally and to share some of the wonderful things that are happening in our district. It would be a great pleasure to hear from them next, and I'd like to welcome them.
Great, thank you, Dr. O'Brien. I think we had three principals sign up through our form, but I know that if there are any others, of course, we'd like to open the floor up to them as well. So Natalia, did you want to just start by calling out people who signed up?
Okay. So first we have William Kirk.
And if you don't mind, when you do speak, to just in your introduction, let us know which school you're from.
Thanks so much for coming, Bill.
Oh, it looks like, do the principals have access to unmute themselves, Natalia?
They don't. I have to make them co-host. It's not giving me mute button.
Bear with us, everyone.
Okay, should have it now.
Thank you, Natalia.
You're welcome.
Good evening, everyone. CEC members, Superintendent O'Brien, colleagues, and community members. I appreciate the opportunity to speak with you all and to have you hear some of the things that are happening in our schools and in our specific school communities. Some of the things that I actually had planned to speak about actually connect to some of the things that we already heard and have spoken about or listened to already this evening. So I wanted to start by saying I kind of changed my order here a little bit because I think this is an important and appropriate segue. We had in my building one of the regional enrichment centers going back to last spring, as soon as the school buildings were closed. So we had the Regional Enrichment Center in the building through the spring, through the summer, and actually into early September. Then in mid-September, we prepared and welcomed 400 students in person back into our school building each week. We also were in a yellow zone for a month plus. So we actually had a month worth or a month plus of weekly testing going on in our building at that time. And the amazing thing to me to say is, during the course of that whole time of having the Regional Enrichment Center in the building, and some of the students that came to the Regional Enrichment Center were our own, some were from other schools and other places, and then having that month plus of weekly testing, 0 positives. We had 0 positives in the building in terms of students, both in the rec and our regular school students. We had 0 positives in the building as far as staff members and workers as well. We did have a couple of people that on their own outside of school were tested and did have a couple of positive tests, but nothing within the school, which is, I think, pretty amazing. And I think in a way speaks to, you know, how successful the testing program can actually be, because it has allayed a lot of the fears that both our staff and our parents had, because to know that, you know, it's 0% thus far in our school is just a great accomplishment, a great feeling. Kind of related to that, before we started the weekly testing, we really sat down as a team and gave some thought to how we could make the situation more positive, and we involved our crisis team. So every time that we have the testing coming into the building, we have our guidance counselor, our school psychologist, our social worker, our IEP teacher, and others on hand. And not only do they go to the classrooms and escort the students to the multi-purpose room where we do the testing, but they stay there with them. They're singing Christmas carols and songs with them, and, you know, talking to them and occupying them. And, you know, we also said, well, what did doctors used to do when we used to go to the doctor's office or the dentist? You got a little toy or a lollipop or something, you know, when you walked out. So we've done that as well. So before they exit the testing situation, they get to pick out a little treat to take with them too. And, you know, we've had 0 issues, 0, from first graders through, you know, 8th graders, no problems whatsoever. So it's only an issue when it's the adults that are making it an issue. The kids are so resilient and they understand, you know, why it's being done.
Did he freeze, or was it my computer that froze?
He's frozen.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Some of the things get released and it's not always explained with full understanding or full clarity. And we end up having to either answer questions about it or to really explain and give that clarification. We've had a lot of parents calling and emailing and asking this week, why can't my child come for 5 days? The mayor said 5 days for the students. So what I want to share with all of you is, we actually gave thought before the mayor and the chancellor had even, you know, given their quote unquote models for the year. We created what we thought was a reasonable program. We proposed it. We gave reasons why. Our parents supported it at a 75% clip. And what we've been able to do already from the start is provide our students with not 1, not 2, not 3, not 4, or even like most schools have been able to do, 5 days of in-person instruction in that 3-week cycle. We've been giving them 6 days of in-person instruction during that 3-week cycle, all of our blended students. In addition to that, from the very beginning, we gave our most needy students, our students with disabilities, and our beginning English language learners, and even we added our pre-K students to that mix of 4 days a week 4 days a week they're in the building. So when the mayor is talking about, increasing the number of days and, the amount of students that we can have in the buildings, we've been doing that. And that just speaks to what District 20 always tries to do. We always try to stay ahead, and we always try to think outside of the box, and we always do try to think of what's best for students and how to best meet their needs. We heard from both our staff and our parents that they wanted the remote learning sessions to be more engaging and more interactive. So what did we do? We partnered with our PTA, and we were able to add both the Kami app and Pear Deck app to our Google Classrooms and make it more interactive. I had a teacher email me today, just like bubbling and overflowing with joy about what she's been able to do with her students now that she has Pear Deck and Kami. She shared with me that she can now see every student's paper live as they're working on it and instantaneously see who needs additional assistance and support and give them that additional assistance and support. Or if a student doesn't start it right away, she can urge that student or those couple of students on to get moving along with that project assignment or discussion. So it's been a work in progress, but a work that we are daily putting so much time, effort, and energy into. And individual teachers, I cannot give them enough credit. It's not that they're working less hard this year with some of the remote learning. If they're trying to do it right, they're working more hard and longer than they even did in the past. They are planning and collaborating morning, afternoon, and night after having taught both remotely and in person all day. I see it and hear it from my own teachers in my building, and I see it and hear it at home because my wife is a teacher, a New York City DOE teacher somewhere else outside of District 20. And it is a constant process to plan, to deliver the instruction, and to follow up with students and parents the way it needs to be done. Last thing I was gonna say, teachers are going outside of the regular stuff too. I have one teacher that's doing a virtual author's visit tomorrow. I shared an article with my teachers. I just want to show everybody because I think this is a great idea. Anybody that has not seen this, hopefully you'll be able to see this clear on camera. So if you don't recognize any of those teachers, that's okay because they're not ours. Those are actually teachers from, I believe, around the Washington, D.C. area, or maybe even other parts around the country. The idea is that when you're working with students remotely online, and you have those you have those reluctant students that don't want to participate. What these teachers are doing is every time another student or a new student participates in that online lesson, the teacher puts another sticker on their head or on their face or on their shirt or whatever. And the kids love it, especially the younger kids. But even I saw and heard from some middle school teachers that are doing that now as well. So just another example of teachers just thinking outside the box, going above and beyond to make this work. Thank you all for listening and giving us this opportunity.
Thank you, Principal Kirk. Appreciate you coming. Natalia, who is next on our list? You're muted. Still muted.
I swear I pressed the button to unmute. Principal Hung, you're up next.
Okay, good evening, everyone. Good evening to all the CEC members and parents, Superintendent Dr. O'Brien, and my wonderful colleagues. Thank you so much for providing us with the opportunity to share with you some of the practices we have in school. So my name is Yu Qing Hong. I'm the principal of PS 310. time goes really fast. When I became a principal, I admire my colleagues who have been principals for years, and now it has been 10 years being a principal already in this district, in this wonderful district. So I concur with my colleague, Mr. Kurt, about the testing. Testing has been doing really well in our school. It goes very well. There was a zero positive confirmation, and parents actually asked their kids to be tested. And also a lot of staff members volunteer to be tested, even though sometimes they gave us a certain percentage, but we always have more people being tested rather than the percentage that was given to us. And today I want to focus on some of the supports that we have given to our families and students. So we continue to have like monthly parent workshops focusing on how to support their children in managing the time and staying focused in online learning, and also how to support their children with social emotional activities. We also have family art days. Over 60 parents and students join the family art days using the autumn leaves that they collected to make artwork, beautiful artwork. 2 weeks ago, we started the Title III after school program. Over 50% of our students sign up to participate in the after school program, focusing on small group instruction on students who really need the support. And we also, last week, we started the enrichment program, offering students with opportunity for arts, for 3D, for robotic, also classes for scientific experiments. We call that wacky scientist, and also on becoming better me, inviting students who really need the emotional support to engage in conversation, talking about their concerns, talking about their worries, and giving them the supports that we need. Classes like learning about multicultural through holiday celebration is also one of the offerings in our enrichment program. And also talking about the improving the online engagement classes. So we also implement the Peer Deck and also Nearpod app. So 2 weeks ago, we started the teacher training on Nearpod, utilizing a lot of like engaging activities during their lessons, daily lessons. And yesterday, we just received the report. We already have 2,300 activities being implemented by our teachers. And again, we are a very small school with about 30 teachers. But over the last 2 weeks, after the first PD session, we already have over 2,000 activities being utilized for those lessons. And as a result of the commitment from our staff member, our daily attendance rate continue to be 98.6%. So that's wonderful. Parents give us a lot of support and positive feedback. And so we are very fortunate to be in the district that having our strong leaderships from the superintendent, having the encouragement and inspiration from my colleagues, being so committed to supporting the children. So I just want to thank my colleagues for, thank you, Superintendent Dr. O'Brien, and all the parents, wonderful parents like you, during these hours still are so committed in exploring ways to support our children. So thank you for giving me this opportunity.
Great, thank you, Principal Hong. I think we have one more principal, right, Natalia? Principal Russo?
Yes, Principal Russo.
So I just want to say, I think I put in that I wanted to speak when they were talking about the testing, because I have so many angst about the testing. One of which is the fact that we were not given translated letters to give to the children to bring home at the end of the testing. And I had my own people in my school translate the letters, but when another group comes into the testing, it's a different letter, right? So now I have to do that again. And back in November, when we originally had the testing, I asked for translated letters and they said they were forthcoming. And yesterday, when they told me I was having testing in my school today, I asked for translated letters and they said they were forthcoming. So I think one of the things that testing and tracing people need to do is really get on top of getting translated letters that get backpacked home to the parents for the kids to know that the kids were tested in school. I just want to hook on to Principal Hung and what she said. With the high attendance rate, and we've been doing a great job with the in-person and the remote learning. It's been a great experience, and I have to say, I really believe my children in my school are learning, whether they're at home or in school. It's been a wonderful experience. I just this week I asked Dr. O'Brien to come to my school to actually online to see our fourth grade just finished the research projects, and they worked in groups and they produced these amazing projects. And I'm so proud of the work that they did, but I'm especially proud because they did it in the COVID, it's amazing the work that we have been able to do in spite of the obstacles we've been given. So I just want to say I'm really proud of our teachers, our principals, our APs, and Dr. O'Brien. We so appreciate the support you give us and that you want to come in to see us and see what we're doing. You're always calling me up and saying, can I come into your classrooms? Can I come into your classrooms? And I appreciate that because our teachers are validated by the fact that you want to come in and see what they and their teachers and their children are doing. So thank you very much for that. And thank you for letting me speak tonight.
Thank you, Principal Russo. We appreciate the feedback from all the principals and all the insights you're giving us to day-to-day life in school and what's happening and the work that's being done.
Gina, can I just say that if any of the CEC members want to come in and see what we're doing, I would welcome them into our classrooms, whether it's remote or in person. We are doing some great work, and I think you would like to see that.
Yeah, same here too.
So anybody who wants to come in, just email me and I'll be happy to set it up.
Great, thank you.
Dina, could I be recognized for a second?
Sure.
I just wanted to, since we have so many principals here, I was wondering if the principals would be willing to invite CEC members to your SLT meetings on a standing basis.
Yeah.
So
that would not be a problem.
I think that would be a nice productive bridge where we could help each other and hear from your school community. That would be great.
And who's saying that? Is that
No.
It's Adele Doyle.
Adele, I just want you to know all our CEC, all our SLT meetings are open meetings. So
right, yeah,
you can come and
it would be nice.
And we'd be happy to send you a list of the dates that we meet. I think as a district, I'm sure we would be. I think we have to do that anyway. But
sure,
we would be happy to have anybody who wants to come in because they're our SLT meetings are open meetings.
Yeah, there's a difference between coming to a meeting and being recognized as a speaker at a meeting, though. And
yeah,
we would, and we have been talking as a council about creating a stronger community that way. So it would be nice, since we have all of you here. That's something we would really much appreciate if we could be included.
I'm sure if you put that out to Dr. O'Brien, I mean, I can't speak for him, but I know he's open to a lot.
It'd be fantastic.
Dr. O'Brien.
Thank you so much.
Discussing that on Friday at our meeting with him.
Yeah.
Gina, may I be just recognized for just a real quick second?
Sure.
I would just want to reference what Principal Kirk was talking about with the kids who maybe don't participate in class. Or I'm having an experience now with one of my daughter's teachers. She's not in District 20 anymore. She's on to high school, where the teacher actually refuses to use the chat at all. He wants the children to speak, and I get it, but they don't want to. And I've heard other of her teachers have such great success when they engage with the chat and embrace that texting sort of technology that the kids love. I just was curious if you or Principal Hong or Principal Russo, just really quickly, because we're on a time limit, can chime in on the advice you're giving to your teachers and if you're getting any pushback on that. Especially for the older kids, obviously, for the older kids, this is more of a.
Yeah, not only do I have to, work with my middle school teachers on that, I have to work with my 2 middle school age children at home on that aspect of things too. So I get it from both perspectives. Yeah, I mean, the more various opportunities that you can give the kids to share what they know and to share what they're struggling with or what they have questions about, the better off you're going to be, as a teacher. So, I mean, for the most part, I can't say to a person, but for the most part, my teachers have embraced that. And the best thing that some of my teachers have done is they've actually shared, successes that they've had with each other to kind of give each other ideas and spur each other. And it becomes a little bit of a competition, to be quite honest. So, that's something that happens, I think, organically too.
Right, to be able to get the most engagement, you mean? They compete. Yeah, well, certainly the teacher who won't use the chat is struggling a lot. Luckily, it's just Jim, so it's not that big of a deal. But thank you for your answer. I appreciate it. Thank you, Gina.
Thank you, everyone. I think we're going to keep moving forward. It's already almost 8:20, so we have more to get through. Natalia, I think we're on to the public speaking portion of our meeting from our parents and PTA representatives. So would you like to start by calling out the first 3 people that have signed up to speak, and then perhaps posting the sign up in the chat again in case anyone else came late and wants to speak.
Okay.
Oh, and I just wanted to note, I forgot to mention this earlier, that the resolutions that we'll be discussing are up on our website, right? If anyone needed to access and look through as other people were talking and before the council discussion. Sorry, Natalia, go ahead.
Can we post the link to our website in the chat, please?
Yes, good idea, Vito.
Sure.
And I'm sorry, Gina, I wasn't listening. Did you remind everyone that they have 3 minutes to speak?
Yes, that's right. Sorry. Everyone has 3 minutes to speak, and we'll let you know.
Yeah, we didn't limit the principals because, you all have such valuable information to share with us. But for public speaking, the limit is 3 minutes, just so everyone understands why we didn't just do it. Thank you.
Except, Alice, can't we say for the same reason that we should recognize the same for PTA presidents?
Yes, but I don't know how many have signed up, but yes, we do have that. And on next month's agenda, like I said, Janine and Natalia hopefully will work together, and maybe I'll remember to invite PTA presidents a little bit earlier. And hopefully if we have a substantial number signing up, we'll do the same. Absolutely. But we do have resolutions to get to. So
Natalia, what are the names?
Okay, so we have Diana Brogan for PTA.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Then there's also, oh, wait. Okay, we have more people who joined now.
Okay, why don't we start with Diana and then we can call out the next names. Thanks.
Yeah, so I had to make her co-host because it wouldn't let me just unmute her.
Fine.
Hello.
Diana? Yes, go ahead. We can hear you.
Hi, before I start, I know Adele just addressed this and it was kind of shot down, but since I am here representing the views of a ton of parents who have spoken to me about this issue at PS 185 and beyond, I'd appreciate a little bit of leeway on the time if that's possible.
do you know how much time you're thinking about? I mean, are we talking about 5 minutes? Just because we
No.
do have the resolutions to also discuss.
I know, but
trying to limit you at all, Diana.
Okay, it's speaking to the resolutions, but all right, whatever you can do, I'd appreciate.
Okay, well, I'll start for 3 minutes, and if you go over, we can, take it from there. I'm definitely not, no one's trying to limit your,
No, okay,
your
thank you.
speech. You're welcome.
So I just want to start by saying I'm disappointed as a parent that Jeff from the mayor's office is gone, to not hear more clearly these parents' concerns. There's no issue here with clarity from the parents' perspective. I think the mayor's office needs a reminder that consent, when combined with a threat or a detrimental consequence for non-compliance, is not consent. That is coercion. Care and control of our children is a fundamental right, and there's a necessarily high burden for the state to limit that. The justifications that we've heard tonight for the in-school mandate are so weak. Just tell a parent which lab to go to, the same lab that's coming to the school, and tell them when, and they will go. This sounds more like a failure of planning and imagination, and now parents are expected to cede their authority to a bungling city administration. I don't need to hear from another person how easy the test is, how resilient the kids are. I don't care if it's Mickey Mouse doing the test. I am a parent, and no one at school, at soccer, at the park, at the doctor's office has the right to touch my child without mom or dad there to watch over them. And these are the concerns that I've heard from many, many parents in tears this week about being forced to sign that consent form, some even making this decision to go full remote, even though they know that that's not what's best for their child. Schools especially should not be normalizing any message to the contrary about who gets to do something to your body. It doesn't matter how invasive or not a procedure is. We're conditioning children to submit their bodies to the request of a stranger without the watchful eye and observable consent of their own parent or guardian. School phobia is already a real condition, and during these frightening times, masked and socially distanced children shouldn't be saddled with any more of an anxiety load inside the school building. Telling parents that a child who resists won't be forced to undergo testing is a joke. School is a place that operates under an ever-present requirement of compliance, and the children know it. It's a farce to suggest that children will feel comfortable going against what's asked of them, especially without the backup of their guardian. Those of us with means, like myself, can always throw their hands up. We can successfully navigate remote learning or escape the public school system completely, as thousands have done prior to this mandate and even more in the last week. But those parents who have spoken to me without the means to leave, without the social capital, or even without legal status, don't feel comfortable speaking up against the system they depend on. And now they're being held hostage to this abhorrent mandate with no recourse and no free choice. Parents of students with IEPs who already operate, as we know in this district, under fear of retribution from their schools and districts simply for advocating to get the services they're entitled to, are loath to speak up about this despite hating the idea of the testing and don't want yet another target on their backs. It's particularly shameful that this scare tactic is taking advantage of a public school population the DOE knows it can intimidate into compliance because they have no other feasible options. Now in New York City, your rights over your children are dependent on whether you can afford private school, and I'm disgusted by it. Thank you.
Thank you, Diana.
Thank you, Diana. You were well within your time. You didn't even need more than 3 minutes. Thank you.
Okay, I think we have two more PTA representatives, Sophia Brakis first, and then Michael Lowe.
Hi, how are you? How is everyone? Thank you for giving me the floor to speak. I don't know that I'm going to be so eloquent as Diana, but thank you, Diana, for really, I want to piggyback off of you because, can everyone hear me okay?
Yes.
I want to piggyback off of Diana because this was a tough week for me as a parent with with 3 children, 2 elementary and 1 in middle school who has not started classes yet, and that's extremely frustrating. But it was also a tough week for me because I was very reluctant to send my children to school. I didn't know which way to go with this, whether I should just make them fully remote because of this consent. You know, Diana said it beautifully, but just to piggyback, really taking the rights away from a parent is really the wrong way to approach this in a school setting where children have to be obedient and do all of the things that they're told, and to have now the children not know who's testing them, whatever the case may be, I will happily take my child to any test site and test them with being present. But without my presence, I adamantly oppose this idea. And it's not consent, it is coercion. We were forced to do so. And to have a consent sign that says, if I'm going to consent, but I'm not allowed, or my hands are tied, it really just doesn't sit well at all. And I'm just really would want to say that, and I don't want to say more because it's just extremely frustrating and so upset.
All right, Sophia, you went mute. I just want to make sure you are done with your thought. I don't know if she can unmute herself. I don't know what, you know why that keeps happening, Natalia, that people are, we have like a secret muter.
I think,
Okay.
Sophia, were you done with your thought?
Thank you. I'm done. Thank you. And I appreciate your time. And I thank everyone for all their hard work. I hope that this is a resolution to this that can, again, it's not that we oppose testing. Testing should happen. We need to keep everyone safe. That's not that's not what we're arguing about, or that's not what our concerns are. That's not what our fears are. That's not what the children are scared about. But parents need to be present when their children are being tested. Just the same way when a doctor is in there examining the child, we as parents are present. This is not okay.
Great, thank you, Sophia. Michael Loeb? Did you give him access? Oh, great.
Yeah. I'm Michael Loeb, use he, him. I'm the PTA president at IS62 Ditmas. Thanks everybody for being here. It's a question for Superintendent Dr. O'Brien. I think I heard you say that there are still 2,000 students who don't have their devices. If that's the case, how can it be the case, and what's the plan to get them their devices? It's December, almost mid-December.
Sure, Mr. Loeb, how are you? I remember you from the last meeting. I want to let you know that those 2,000 devices is an ongoing issue here in our district. We've been advocating for those families to receive a device. We've received word that we have another 250 device shipment that will be coming out to schools to distribute in the days ahead. It is an ongoing issue with the city, and anything that we can get our hands on, we're getting to our families and so they can have them in their child's hands. But things are working far too slow for me, and I'm sure for my principals here on the line and elsewhere, because without those devices, it creates a digital divide. And I know my supervisor, Executive Superintendent Freeman, has been advocating for our district among the other districts in Brooklyn South, so that all families will have a device. Unfortunately, as I'm not in the locus of my control, device delivery, but I have been advocating for our families, and will continue to give updates as I get them going forward.
Thank you. I think we're, Natalia, can you help me out here on who's next, who's signed up next? I think we are moving on to the parents, yes? You're muted. Mm-hmm.
Okay, next we have Freya Magnus. Let's see.
I see her. There you go. Yep, I think you're unmuted now, Freya.
I mean, honestly, I'm so proud of my PTA president, Diana Brogan. She did a great job saying exactly what I think most parents feel within our school. I'm glad to hear the district members being a little bit more vocal than this summer, listening over about consent forms.
Alice, can you ask Freya,
I had to, I'm one of those parents who had
You
to
hear
go and move my child remote, which was a devastating move because I believe the social aspect of school is what is important to my child.
Freya, turn your video off.
She did
It might get a better feed.
Nobody can hear me.
It's slow. It's lagging.
Thumbs up.
It might be better if you turn off your video.
Her video is off.
Yep.
Now it is.
I think we last heard you when you were
Okay.
talking about how we're being
Is
more.
that better?
Yes.
Yeah, that's a little bit better.
Okay. Is this better?
I don't think she can hear us.
Yes, that's better.
Okay, yes. So more vocal. Can you hear me?
Yes.
I hear you. I hear you. My biggest issue is the city. If they took this serious, they would have everyone tested before they entered the building. I am one of the parents who have my child's immunization reports up to date. I vaccinate. I do whatever I need to do to protect my child. But what I will not do is give my rights over my child's body and sign a contract to the city to have that right. It is immoral. And I encourage you all to keep the fight going for parents who can't speak. I have a sister-in-law who must send her child into school at PS 185 because she has to work. And I'm fortunate that I get to stay home. And so now she has to sign the consent. To hear Jeff from the mayor's office saying parents are wanting to sign seems a little bit making the statistics work in his favor. Signing doesn't mean you're complacent with it, but parents are being forced to sign in order to have their kids in school to go back to work. So I really hope that you all keep fighting for parents' voices, which is not given to us during this pandemic. Don't be complacent with people taking our rights away. And it is pretty much immoral, I think, to teach our children in school that their body is theirs and now make that body signed over to the city as a contract. And so please fighting, Mrs. Doyle, you did a great job tonight. I appreciate it. And I could only hope, Joseph Brand, that you are a voice for parents within the district.
Great. Thank you, Freya.
Thank you.
Natalia, who's next?
And next we have Ellen Brown.
Great. Ellen.
Hi, thank you. First, I'd like to say it is very disappointing that the representative from the mayor's office is not here to listen to the voice of the parents so that he can relay our voice. And beyond that, I'd just like to say that I echo the opinion of Diana and Sophia and Freya, and I fully agree with what they said, so no need to repeat.
Great. Thank you, Ellen. Natalia, who's next?
Okay, next we have Alexis Gillen. I hope I pronounced that right. I think that'd be Alexis iPhone.
Hi, yes, thank you for allowing me to speak tonight. I have a few points that I'd like to make. The first being that what Diana and the other representatives stated about us not consenting and being forced to test our children and send them to school. My other concern is how are these, now that our representative from the mayor's office left, how are our concerns being brought to the mayor's office? Who is filtering this up right now from this meeting? Is this meeting being recorded that then can be viewed at a later date? My other concern is, are we truly getting 20% of the school's population? Because from what I've heard, that there are employees in the school that don't have to comply with testing. And how is that okay? If you're forcing our children to be tested, why isn't every employee in the building being forced to be tested? That's not okay. I'm a working parent. I don't have a choice. I have to send my child to school. And it brought me to tears this week to sign that over. So that's just not okay. And if the mayor's office and the chancellor's office are saying that testing is the answer, end all and be all, then why haven't they announced a date for high schools? If it's working for elementary and they have a date in mind for junior highs, why can't high schools be open? I have a high schooler who's been in school 1 day this year. 1 day. And how is that okay? She's missed her entire freshman year fall semester. So thank you for giving me the time to speak.
Thank you, Alexis. Natalia, do we have anyone else on the list?
No, that's it.
Okay. Steve, Vito, we have a question, a message from a parent who wanted their statement read into the record. Can you guide us on how that's done? What we should do, what's protocol?
And you could read their question if you want. I mean, normally questions like this aren't put directly in the minutes. The only way I could think of to do that then would be for the council to, you have to vote on it, I guess. I mean, it seems a little roundabout, right? But normally something like that wouldn't be put in the minutes.
It's a statement that a parent asked me to read. You're saying I can't read it into the record?
Oh, I guess you can read it and request it to be put into the record.
I'd like to read it. I have a hard copy if anybody wants to see.
Oh, I see.
Authenticity. If someone doesn't believe me, I can provide a hard copy of the message, or I could show you. Here's the message on my phone.
Well, since it's already in public speaking and will be in the minutes, why don't you just email that message to Natalia and then just read it, right?
Yeah, that's fine.
Thank you, ma'am.
You're welcome, sir.
Trying to be good. So, hello, Mr. Labella. On the matter of this mandatory testing, I believe that parents, I apologize. This is from Julia Hernandez through Facebook. Hello, Mr. Labella. On the matter of this mandatory testing, I believe that parents should have the right to take their kids to their private doctors. The ideas of tents outside so parents are present is great, but comes with the issue of a parent who cannot take off last minute because a child will be chosen at random for the day of testing. If children with disabilities can have the option to take testing at their doctors, why can't all students have that option? As a parent, many of our children may not have a diagnosed disability, but our children may not feel comfortable with a stranger taking the test. Students with no disabilities can also become traumatized or have sensitivity issues, and yet they are not given this option. Many things with testing needs to be viewed on the aspect of a children, not divide the normal children and the disabled children. I think that the view of the higher ups is that 3K and pre-K and kindergarten students don't get tested because they can be traumatized. Then this should also be viewed for all testing, little ones as well. I believe freedom of choice, not mandatory decisions for our kids with the notion of or else. And then she says, thank you for allowing parents to have this platform and voice. That's from Julia Hernandez.
Great.
Excuse me, Dina?
Yes.
Hi, I would just like to respond to the last comment regarding DOE employees not having to test. And I just wanted to share and to clarify, all teachers and paraprofessionals.
Nope.
If they refuse their test, they are sent home and lose the day's pay. They must go on an unpaid leave of absence if they feel strongly about not being tested. That's the current policy here at the Department of Education. So I just wanted to clarify that small matter.
Great. Thank you, Dr. O'Brien.
No problem.
Yeah, I want to move us quickly because I know some of us have to leave at 9 and we have the 2 resolutions to pull up and vote on. Thank you, parents, PTA members, and principals for sharing your insights with us. Natalia, can you put up first? I think we're discussing the testing resolution and then we'll go to the second resolution. So I'm hoping that everyone had time to review this. Yeah, Alex. Did you want to?
Just a point of order. Do we think that maybe just for time, because we were just discussing testing in such detail, we want to just move the order of those and discuss the testing resolution first and then maybe do the admission second? So we have a better chance of, it's an idea. I
Is that a
moved to
motion,
do that.
Alice? Is that a motion?
Yes, I move to switch the order of the resolutions we'll be discussing and voting on.
I second.
Great. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
We need 6, guys.
Anybody opposed?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? That's a better question. Okay, the ayes have it. We're going to discuss the testing one first. Sorry, Dina. Thank you.
Oh, that's fine. I mean, I think rather than go bullet by bullet, I think everyone had time to review this. Does anyone want to draw attention to one certain part of this for discussion? And if so, just tell Natalia and she'll scroll down.
I guess point of order, I did provide comments. So I'm not sure, is this the original one circulated or is this the one with the comment?
So Inga, this is the one that was submitted by the 48-hour deadline. So this was the one
Right.
that got posted for the public to say. But I wanted to say that I did get the feedback. And so there's some changes I wanted to suggest to this just right off the bat, which were to replace the beginning with the resolution that we actually call on, let me see where it is. That we call on Governor Cuomo, Mayor de Blasio, Chancellor Carranza, and community leaders, rather than what we have written now. That was one change that I think makes sense. And let's see, and there's also a suggestion to remove whereas 14, which had to do with Governor Cuomo talking about positivity rates. And also to change the resolved intro to Governor Cuomo, Mayor de Blasio, Chancellor Carranza, and community leaders again. So those are the main issues.
Okay, thanks, Simeon. Yeah, I guess I need a minute then to pull up all the edits that I made so I can go through them. Hold on.
Can we post the one with the comments now? And it would just basically jumpstart the process instead of going through everybody's comments individually? Is she allowed to post that one?
I don't know because I actually don't know the answer to that.
I think that might just be more confusing. I don't know if it might be easier for Inga just to walk us through her changes. I'm sorry, Inga, I don't know how many there are, so.
Yeah, it's just I'm on a phone, so I need to go try to get a laptop. Hold on one second.
Okay. While Inga's doing that, does anyone?
In the
have-
meantime, I'm also looking for it to mine.
Okay.
Can you scroll down to it's therefore resolved and decreed? Maybe the people who haven't been able to see it can see what we're actually resolving. Natalia, scroll down a little bit more.
While Natalia and Inga are looking for the other version, are there any other? Does anyone else have any final thoughts on this or changes?
You want to go back to the top?
Okay, I did find my version, so if you want I can go through my comments or however you want to do it.
Yeah, let's do that.
Okay, so the first one was as Simeon mentioned, just the resolution calling upon governor, mayor, chancellor, and also testing program, let's just write NYC schools, right? Because we're talking about NYC schools throughout, I think. Point 5, also, I think we mean NYC DOE versus just DOE, unless I misunderstood. Because we reference NYC DOE in many cases, but then
Yes, you're
here,
right.
just,
Yes.
okay.
Yep, that
So
should be NYC.
Yeah, so there I would just add that. On point 11, that talks about whereas some parents in District 20, especially those with children in grades, I think it should be 1 through 5, right? Because the 3K, they're not requiring testing on them.
What about pre-K?
They're not requiring testing.
Okay,
It's only
yeah.
1 through 5.
So not on kindergarten either. Yeah, whatever.
Yeah.
I didn't know. I was just trying to focus on the younger kids.
What about if they make, what about who's to guarantee that they're not going to require 3K or kindergarten or pre-K in the future? It doesn't hurt us to put it in.
That's true. I don't know. I think it's a semantics.
That's fine. I'm not that if you want to leave it in, that's fine. I was just linking it to what the requirement is. But yeah, that I'm fine with that, Vito.
That's good to know, though, Linda. I didn't know they weren't testing little ones.
Yeah, it's just 1 through 5. I think it was the next one that I had suggested to delete. I guess my numbers are all so moreover, to date, many New York City parents have not demonstrated their willingness to sign consent forms, and it links to like Gothamist. So that's the one I kind of didn't really think it adds much. It doesn't really speak to our district. It's also from, I don't know where they got their numbers from. I guess they say they got it from the DOE.
I
But
think they're pretty widely cited numbers. I've seen them in other articles. And I think they speak to the fact that parents have not consented in large numbers. And we don't know why. We don't know it's because they don't want to. We don't know if they just didn't know about it. We don't know what the obstacle is. But the fact is only a third of parents before this have actually consented to do this.
I know, but I guess in my mind, that as I was reading it anyway, it kind of took me away from what we were resolving to ask. Like the question that popped up in my mind was, well, what does this mean or matter, frankly, because I think as many parents mentioned, it's not that they're opposed to the testing, right? They just want to be present.
Does having this item in here prevent you from supporting this resolution?
I would just, like a clean resolution, frankly.
Actually,
and you'll figure out, I guess, if I oppose or don't when I vote.
Just a point of order, which whereas are we talking about right now? I'm not seeing it.
It's 11.
11.
But
Okay.
I would say, and I bet Steve could find the actual source, or even Simeon. Between the two of you, I'm sure we can get the primary source on that. But I think it is important because even as Jeff was speaking, there seemed to be something disingenuous in saying how overtly enthusiastic parents are about signing these consent forms, when this shows that that's not necessarily the case.
Just a point of order on the consent form. Is that just for District 20 that a lot of parents are not signing it, or is that citywide? Because obviously when the New York City DOE makes these decisions, they can't base it on our district specifically.
Citywide.
Okay.
That came out in the original.
Okay, I just was clarifying. Thank you.
Yeah, I know we have a difficult, no, what you're saying, Alice. But I'm for keeping it in if we could find the original source.
Okay. So then I guess 13. I don't know. I think I just rejiggered the order of certain things here. And then in terms of what we're asking for under 15, again, we need to address the governor, chancellor, and whatnot, and local leaders. And two of the additions were, okay, so after point 1, I think it was to allow families of students who are randomly selected to take their child. You know what? I just moved the order, basically. So I moved that to point 2. That point 3 is testing at other locations will not be accommodated, or if schools cannot establish a means to provide the opportunity for parents who wish to participate via direct link using Zoom and Google Meets. Is that there right now?
Natalia, can you scroll down? Yeah. Yeah, Zoom, Google Meets, Teams
Okay.
is listed.
And then ensure that school staff who are known to students and parents be present during all COVID-19 testing within the school building. Is that there?
That's number 4. Yeah.
Okay.
Do we note anywhere in the whereas about the coercive value of a consent form that holds an if then solution for parents? If you don't, then this will happen, which suggests more coercion than, as the PTA presidents had suggested, than actual consent. And do we find that to be problematic? I know I do. I find it to be problematic that it's not a legitimate consent form when you are doing it either or.
Wait, which number is this, Adele?
Well, I'm not sure. Is it there? Did I read that correctly? Is it in there
Whereas is to see if that's listed.
as the coercive value of the consent form?
Can I speak to that for just a second since we're
Sure.
discussing it? I mean, I know where you guys are coming from. I just feel like I've said this before, but there is a choice. The choice is not to go to school in person. And I know that's not a feasible choice for a lot of people, but like 750,000 people are figuring it out, how to keep their kids home. I just feel like a choice does exist. It's not, you're not being, the only people who are being deprived in education, and I said this over email, are the children who do not have devices that are being coerced, because if they don't go to school, they don't get an education. But for the rest of us, our children are receiving an education. It's not perfect, but no one is making our children go back into the buildings. And I know it's not a popular opinion and I don't want to debate it. I just kind of want to put it on the record. Thanks, everyone.
I understand, Alice, and not to be debated, but just to restate the parents' perspective, particularly parents with that don't see this as a choice, especially when they do have obligations that they must meet. And again, I don't think it's for me to decide what a parent considers to be a choice, because I'm not in their circumstances and I don't know what they're experiencing at home. So for me, I think it's important, if we are to represent all of our parents, to, especially since 3 different PTA presidents did specify that did this qualify as coercion.
Okay, well, that's again, that's their opinion. We have ours, and I respect their opinion. I'm not shooting it down. I would, though, just to speak to that really quickly, as we're elected officials and parents come to us to have their concerns heard, let's not be shy about contacting our own elected officials. Part of the reason that we are being, coerced, AKA, into sending our children to school, because we have no choice, because our leaders aren't giving us a choice. We're not getting our stimulus bill. We need to be calling our legislators. We need to be constantly advocating for resources from our government during this pandemic. They gave us $1,200 in April and they told us to have a nice day. And I mean, people shouldn't be having to choose between sending our children to maybe a potentially dangerous school building and to have a test that they don't maybe want their child to have to consent to, or eating. That's a ridiculous choice. So while we reach out to us as elected leaders, and as parents do that, let's encourage everyone to reach out to your actual elected leaders that make budgets and force us into these untenable situations where we have to make these choices.
Adele, to go to your point that whereas is not there, I think that is a change that, is more substantive. Inga had ones that I think we can agree to add after voting, but that one we would need to agree to add, I think, if it would prevent people from.
I would like to put it on the table and see if we could have support for this, particularly since we heard from PTA presidents who this is an issue for. Inga, is there a way to word that in a way? Simeon, is there a way to word something in there? Because there is a legality issue when you're presented with a consent form deemed to be voluntary, and then you're offered a coercive outcome. You don't get this if you don't do this. That's really not And you shouldn't have to choose. You shouldn't have to say, okay, my child needs to be in person. It's not the same thing. Being in person and being at home is not the same type of education, or make this not, I mean, so for parents to say that, I just feel it needs to be there. I
The
would
only way
like-
I can support that being put in is if we tie it directly to the children who do not have devices, because it is really only them who are being coerced. Otherwise, I can't support the resolution with that language. That's just me. Please, everyone else, speak up.
Simeon, you might be able to figure this out. Can you think of the wording?
Can I speak? I would not support that in the resolution. In fact, I'm going to vote against the resolution, given the overarching current that this represents, not just in the district, but in the city. I'm a CUNY professor. If I found out that my union to my administration agreed that we go back into the classroom where there wasn't a robust testing apparatus, I would go on strike. We're part of a community. And what we're doing here is that we're advancing the interests of individuals in a society where the idea that we have choice is actually quite constrained because we need to protect each other. That's how choice actually works. Alice said it best. People have a choice. You could be part of the almost 3/4 of parents who are now home, remote learning, right? Or if you go to the school facilities, I'm sorry, but the teachers, the principals, the counselors, the janitors have a right to and each other, our kids have an absolute right as workers to protect themselves. Our speaker, I had many issues, many questions with our speakers that came earlier today. And I didn't get every answer that I wanted. I was concerned about the translation issue. But in terms of the validity of the test, that was the right answer. And that is, if we allow parents to go to the local H&H testing site, right, where which is already a non-random sample, right, because people who go there are more likely to have symptoms. You're compromising. First of all, we're compromising our own health. Second, you're compromising your own study. So if I'm using that statistic, negative or positive test, and throwing it into my sample when that testing has been done under different conditions, I don't have a sample. That's not a valid test. That is why it's important to have that point in time test to ensure that replicability and to ensure that validity and to protect each other. So I appreciate, and Simeon, I appreciate what you've tried to do here today. I'm sorry that you've run 4 times and you haven't been elected, and I felt that I want to send you solidarity. And we have, one of the things I appreciate about you is how we respectfully agree to disagree, and I appreciate your effort here in doing so. But I wanted to just say that I will not be supporting this resolution in general. Thank you.
Okay, just to clarify.
So Adele, you have to get.
Point of order, sorry.
And maybe other people, I'm sorry, we just have a 9:30 hard stop, and I know Inga has to go too.
But it's misstating. It's misstating what I'm asserting. I can't.
I'm sorry.
I can't make a move for. I asked for a move for something, but it's being misstated. That's not what I'm asking for, and I just wanted to be clear so everybody understands what's being asked for.
So, are you asking for the language of coercion to be put in?
So, in the sense that parents are not rejecting the testing itself, they're rejecting not being able to be present. As worded, this consent form is coercion. If they had worded where parents could be present. Okay. Secondly, we do not represent the UFT. We represent the parents. Okay, and I appreciate that. Nobody is saying not to be tested. You can be tested on site. Measures can be taken to be tested on site where parents can be present. That's what I'm asking for. As worded, this is coercion. There's nothing that says we're talking about not testing, Alan.
I think what we need to do, because we can, we're having more of a discussion. We need to suggest the amendments we want to make and then vote on them and then vote on the amendment. So.
Perfect.
Yeah, I'll just make a point of order, I guess, if I may. I think, Adele, to that point, though we don't use the word coercion, item 11 does speak to that exact point, that parents have expressed that they're uncomfortable with medical procedures being conducted on their children outside of their presence, right? I think that's really the main kind of point, frankly, in my opinion, of why we're doing this resolution, is what we've heard from parents, particularly as stated in point 11. I mean, I'd be fine with, signing off on this resolution, frankly. I think it's very important to have this come across to the elected officials in this form, given everything we've heard individually as a council from parents and even, during public speaking.
Dina, I'm sorry,
Order.
I would support that.
Yeah. Sorry, Adele, I didn't hear you. What did you say?
Just to keep things moving. I appreciate that point, Inga. As stated, I would support the resolution.
Fantastic.
Request to be recognized?
Simeon was before, I'm sorry.
Okay, I'm sorry. Go.
Simeon, Vito.
I was just going to suggest that maybe this is sort of a way to thread the needle, which is in whereas 11, if we just add to that first sentence, and some feel that the consent policy is coercion. And all we're basically saying is that some parents in our district have expressed this, and we are reflecting what some of the parents in our district are saying.
I'm not comfortable with the word coercion.
Okay.
I'm not going to vote for it if it's in there. I mean,
Sorry, I wanted Steve to jump in. He wants to chime in on the process so we can keep.
Sure.
And then Vito, sorry.
Yeah, sorry to cut line there. I think maybe since there's a couple items that Inga proposed that didn't seem to be controversial to most of the council. I would vote on those to just get them in here. And then if there are more controversial ones, make the motion to amend those and then vote on it. If like discussion can happen, but if you want to try to move it along, that would be my advice.
Great. So why don't we vote on Inga's changes, get them in. So does someone want to make a motion, or I don't really.
Sure.
Yeah.
I'll motion to vote on the changes I just suggested.
I second.
Third.
Great.
Just I want to confirm that Natalia is all straight on those changes, just the little housekeeping ones, and we know.
Well, I think we should send them. I think Inga should send them back to Natalia.
Okay.
Make sure we have them.
Sure. And Simeon, I'll work with you. We'll make sure we have the right changes in there.
Okay.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Great. No opposed. Fantastic. So I think the other point we just want to discuss, and then I think, Vito, you go ahead. Right?
I was actually going to make a motion that we vote on this before we go on to the next resolution.
Yeah. Okay.
So only that Adele's question about the number 11, whereas is the only thing that we're putting on the table for now. If you guys decide to amend it, Adele, again, if you want to make these changes, you have to have the language ready.
Yeah, no, I'm fine. I'm fine with it. This is
I'm
just
saying
based on
for
what.
in the future, like just have it ready.
Well, it wasn't for me. It was based on what parents said today.
Okay.
So that, to be fair, that was reflecting what our parents told us.
Great. Does anyone second Vito's motion to vote for the resolution?
I do. Second.
Great. All in favor?
We have to
Aye.
vote-
Aye.
Okay.
Can you vote on the resolution as a roll call?
Yes.
But this is the vote. This is the vote to proceed with the vote.
Vote to vote.
Yes. Vote to vote, right.
Sorry.
Oh.
Yeah, you can do it.
So Natalia's gonna call us roll call and tell us the name of the resolution we're voting on and everything, Natalia, please.
Okay, so this is the resolution on COVID-19 testing in schools. So Dina Gerges.
Yeah, I just wanted to take a moment. I think we heard from parents who feel strongly one way. I just want to be a voice for a parent who sends their kids to school for blended and their kids have gotten tested, my kids without incident, and I appreciate the testing program and the way it's been implemented. But I also will support this resolution because I understand it is important to parents in our district. And so I vote yes.
Okay. Robert Aguilar.
I don't vote in favor of this resolution, so I won't vote for it.
Abstain or no?
I'm not voting for this resolution, no.
Okay, that's abstain.
No, wait.
No, it's a no.
That's
No, this is a no.
Just for
Okay.
clarity, guys, after you do your explanation, let's just say yes or no.
Or abstain.
Right, or abstain. Thanks.
Okay. Alice Licato.
Because Simeon added my extra asks so that we prioritize the testing of the older students over testing of students in grades 1 through 5. and that we took out the part about requiring school staff to actually perform the test, not just be present. I understand that this is what a lot of parents in our community would like, and as long as we respect our unions, I will vote yes in support of this resolution. Thank you.
Okay. Inga Smolyar.
Yes, I support it.
Okay. Alan Aha.
I vote no.
Mauricia Cadillo.
Yes.
Yifeng Chen.
With edited change by Inga, I will vote yes to this resolution.
Okay. Adele Doyle.
Yes.
Okay. Rita Labella.
I want to just thank all the parents who've spoken tonight. I assure them that I listen to their voice, and if I don't personally agree or disagree, sometimes as long as an ask is reasonable, I will support every single parent who has a reasonable ask, and I vote yes.
Okay. Simeon Stolzberg.
Yes.
Okay. Steve Stowe.
Yes.
Okay. There'll be 9 yeses and 2 nos.
Great. Thank you, Natalia. Let's move to, what time is it? 9:09. We are till 9:30, Alice. We don't need to make it.
We are until 9:30.
Okay. Let's bring up the next resolution. I think we should proceed in the same way where if anyone has any substantive changes, we can talk through anything sort of more rearranging and verbiage and all that kind of stuff. Maybe, we can avoid. So we bring up the substantive changes, make an amendment to change what you're presenting, and then we vote on that amendment and then move forward. And to remind us I know we had a lot of versions that went back and forth. Which version is it that we're seeing here? I know it went through edits by Inga and then more edits by Simeon. Which version are we seeing here?
Inga's.
Inga's.
That was one sent yesterday. And I don't think I gotten Inga's in yet. Like I have it here, but I don't think I was able to finish getting it up on the website and all. Which one do you want to look at?
Inga had substantial, Yifeng, do you want to take over? This is officially your resolution. Did you want to?
No, you're fine. I don't mind.
Okay, I don't want to,
No, you're good. You're good.
So yes, so Inga really substantially changed this to take out all of the expansion language for GNT and to really focus on allowing or requiring the state to follow the law. I'm sorry, to requiring the city and the district to follow the law and to schedule the specialized high school aptitude exam as they were required to do. And we're also asking that the city, and if the city doesn't, the district use objective measures to populate schools like 187 within our district and to populate superintendent's programs by using 3rd grade state ELA and math scores, as well as the grades that are available from through March of 2020, so from before the pandemic. So we would like to request, we were also, in the name of equity, requesting that no latenesses or absences be included either this year or in any year going forward. Of course, we can edit that down the road. And any discussion of GNT in general and expansion of GNT, we could table that for another time. But this is specifically about what the existing regulations are and asking the city and the DOE and the district to schedule something and to use these metrics. And Inga has another version that she can go through and maybe upload somewhere that really documents all of the stuff that I just said. Inga, you want to jump in?
Yeah, I just wanted to add one more thing, Vito, and thanks for that. I was just able to open the version that I had sent. And I think one of the other points here is just to ask for the governor, the mayor, the chancellor, all the powers that be to just provide transparency as soon as possible for middle school and high school admissions for all schools, right? That's kind of, I think, what at least I've heard from many parents in this situation. So I just wanted to add that. So I don't know, Dina or Alice or Natalia, what's the best way to do this? I can't really see what's on the screen right now.
I think the one that I have open is the one you sent.
Okay, so you accepted the, if you wouldn't mind, can you just scroll up to the whereas, and then I'll be able to see really quickly if that's the same one. Maybe to like the first whereas. Yeah, okay, so that is that's the one I sent. That's correct. Okay. I know Simeon had some comments to it. Simeon, I actually wasn't able to open up yours and see the edits. So, I mean, do you want to go through?
I can try to summarize some of the key ones. Oh, do you want to put it back up so people can see what we're talking about?
I think this is the one you sent.
Well, okay. Wait, are you talking about mine or are you talking about Inga's?
You, Simeon.
Yeah, but I think we need to talk about Inga's because that's the one that the public's been able to see, right? And that's the one we need to
talk through his changes and we can make an amendment to accept or reject.
And so, I mean, one possibility is for me to propose replacing this one with the other, with mine, but let me raise what the issues were with the other one first.
Okay.
One of the issues is that we all talked, I think, in the past about trying to have citations for things. And I just think going forward, it's really helpful when we put data into some of these things to have sources for some of them. I think it's compelling. But this has been such a rush to get this in. I understand why we're in this position. For the second whereas, it's a little bit confusing to me about who, I thought we were talking about 5th and 8th graders this year who are applying for the following year. Is that right?
Yes, and the reason I have put this data in is exactly to your point, Simeon, the citation. So this data was provided to us from—
The question isn't the data, it's actually the date. So you mean as of September 2020, right? This year's September would be this year they're in 5th and 8th grade?
Exactly. So what I was trying to say is the data I have was as of June, and it was for the 4th and 7th graders enrolled as of June. So we know that now, right, they are going to be obviously 5th and 8th graders.
Okay, then I think you need to change the September 2021 to September 2020, right?
Yes, you're correct. I see that now. Yep, I agree.
Let's see, can you scroll down a little bit more?
Oh, you don't have to change that.
I just had a concern about the line where it says, because of the significant numbers of students that we send to District 20 sends to specialized high schools, it will have a negative impact on those students. It's not clear to me what that negative impact is and what the data is that supports that. So I was
Yeah, this was actually taken from a resolution that was done a few years back where we did have a lot of data to support it. That, you know, we actually were able to identify the percentage of students from our district that ended up going to the specialized high schools. And the reason that's been discussed in the past that why it's negatively impacting them is because, you know, they kind of need a certain, you know, level of education. And our district, as we know, and many other districts don't really offer the same type of programs that would enable them to get that type of education. So that's where that language came from.
right. I mean, I'm being technical here, but this says that not administering the SHSAT would negatively impact these students. And it's not clear to me how exactly not administering this test is going to negatively impact them. We don't know what other alternatives would be used to admit them to specialized high schools, et cetera. So,
well, there should be no other alternatives because the law currently states that the only admission criteria that can be used for admission to specialized high schools is the test.
Isn't that only for 3 schools?
It's for eight,
all.
for 8 or 9 schools, yeah.
But not all of them, right?
Just doesn't include LaGuardia. That's the
Oh.
only school not included, I think.
Actually, I'm not sure about that, Inga. I'm sorry. Point of order.
Right.
I think that the law actually only does specify tech, science, and Stuyvesant, and that the other 5 are under mayoral control. Obviously, LaGuardia's audition, and that was the loophole that the mayor was trying to get around when he originally came up with this great idea, because he was basically saying, I can do whatever I want with these 5 schools. I only have to pay attention to the law with the big 3.
So Bill Chin says in
Yeah,
the chat,
like-
it's only 3 schools.
That's my memory of it.
That's fine. So we can, again, I don't think this resolution is meant to really argue which schools they can or cannot go to. I mean, the main point of this resolution is to have our elected officials make a decision, or if they're in the process of making a decision on not just SHSAT, right? SHSAT is not the main crux of this resolution, frankly, from my perspective, right? The main point is we have a quarter of our population are in this 5th grade and 8th grade status, and they don't know what's going on for next year. Their parents don't know what's going on. The students don't know what's going on. And, there needs to be some transparency. There needs to be transparency, not just some transparency. There were a number of town halls held regarding admissions criteria. Many parents voiced their opinions on both sides, and we still haven't heard anything from anyone. I think at a minimum, if they don't make a decision, they need to at least give us some deadlines to work with. They need to at least tell us what their 2 top choices. I mean, they just need to be transparent. I understand you're kind of going through line by line, Simeon. I don't want this to really turn into a discussion about SHSAT, because that was not meant to be the sole purpose of this resolution, though I understand the sensitivities from some people on this particular point.
I know we have a couple of council members who want to be recognized, have comment. I think we just need to go through what changes you're proposing and vote on an amendment to accept them, and then have discussion. Isn't that, Steve, Lisa, what you said we need to do?
Yeah, it would make the process go quicker.
Yes. Okay. So
So are you asking me to propose amendments?
yeah, are you proposing the changes? You brought up a question about this whereas. Did you want to make a specific change to this whereas?
I mean, I was basically proposing to take out all of the whereases that raise some of the controversial issues about screen schools and specialized high schools and G&T and all those kinds of issues, and just focus on what I think we all agree on, is that the DOE needs to release a admissions policy as soon as possible, because parents have been waiting for months and their kids are all just hanging out there. It's unfair to everyone. And I think that's what I think, if we wanted a resolution that everybody could agree to, I think that would be it. And some of these other issues about the value of these programs can wait till later for us to really dive into it and then develop a resolution we can try to reach consensus around.
So
But it contains a lot of stuff that really kind of is based on those arguments for and against screen schools and things like that.
okay, so I mean, I think we need specifics, which whereases you want to strike. And I know that was in the one you proposed, so maybe just running through them real quick so that way we can vote on it.
I take out the one about city and state lawmakers who recognize the need for expanding G&T programs.
Okay, that's the one that's up. And the one above it that you just mentioned, the negative impact.
Yep.
Okay, so those 2. Natalia, can you scroll down? There are only 2 more.
Yeah, I mean, I'd take out the long and impressive history. Again, just all this stuff that's sort of editorializing and just make it a factual document saying, here's the case, here are the issues, and here's what we'd like you to do.
Okay. And then when it comes to, can you scroll down, Natalia?
So my proposals for this section were basically to add some if statements that said, if the city is going to use screens or testing and things like that, then this is what we would like to see, such as universal screening for everyone, not just for self-selected people. I think that was one thing I called on. Go back to what it was.
Maybe recognized on that point.
Okay, yeah.
How are we doing this? I don't, this is getting into the heart of this. And this takes away the purpose of this, which is to advocate for the gifted and talented programs that this district has had for 20 years and it's being usurped by the DOE. We can't, if the school, if they don't use screens, well, the DOE doesn't want to use screens, and that's in direct contrast to what I believe the majority of District 20 parents will.
But that's my point, is that if this is about advocating for or against, I don't think we're ready to pass a resolution on that. We don't have the data. We don't have this written clearly enough. I don't think we have all the information we want for everyone to reach consensus. If we're all about trying to get an admissions policy from the DOE ASAP, I think that's a different ask that we should be focusing on. I think as a group, we might be able to come together.
Yeah, can I make a suggestion then? I think that, Simeon, your proposed changes to Vito's point, change the substance too much from what was originally drafted by the co-sponsors of the resolution. So I think what we need to do is vote on this resolution as is, and people can make their decision. And then afterwards, we can move to a point where we created, your version, bring that up for discussion as well.
Dina, when you say as is, you're talking about the Inga version.
Yes.
Okay.
Oh, so may I guess, point of order to speak, or?
Yeah, and then Steve, sorry, I know you want to speak, Steve. Go ahead, Inga.
I actually, I guess based on the 3 sections that Simeon requested to be removed from the whereas sections, I mean, I would be fine with that, to be perfectly frank. So, I don't know if we want to maybe, unless other people feel very strongly against those. I don't think those removals actually take away much from the substance. But maybe I'm not seeing something that others are.
I just think Simeon had more that he wanted.
Yeah, I was going to say, I had a bunch of stuff for the resolved and the ask, so I think it does probably change significantly what you want this to do. So I agree.
Okay.
I would be comfortable with taking out the whereas and then leaving the asks as is, but I don't think anybody else, I don't think that would appease anybody.
Yeah, Steve, go ahead.
Yeah, can I suggest that we move through them sequentially and maybe start with the whereas? And then I don't think we ever fully fleshed out the subsequent section. But I'm also, just like Inga said, I'm fine with the whereas clauses coming out that Simeon pointed out. So I feel like that might be an agreement we could vote on.
Point of order, just because it's 9:25 and our meeting will end at 9:30. How do we get around that, Natalia?
Well, technically, this will just continue going.
Okay, will it continue to be recorded, and will everyone who's in the meeting now remain in the meeting?
Mm-hmm.
Or do we
Okay.
want to move to table it to the next meeting and try to come up with something that's
I do not. I feel strongly against tabling it to the new year. This is a big issue, huge concern
Yeah.
for parents in our district.
I'm also okay. I'm okay with voting it for it now, but I would like to remove those 2 whereases. And if we don't remove those 2 whereases, I'm just kind of stuck on the whereas. I wrote it in the chat. I propose striking that last sentence.
Natalia, scroll up.
Who are instead, so not administering the CSHAT would negatively impact the students and families of District 20. Hard stop. Let's take out who are trying to break their own cycles of poverty through sacrifice, hard work. It just, I don't know, it's editorializing.
Yeah,
And
I think
what, are other students not trying to do that? Like, who
we're
is it?
fine. I think, well, I'll just speak for myself. I think I'm fine with removing that. So there, I have listed 3 sections that Simeon requested to be removed from the whereas, which
Okay.
I'm fine with.
Okay.
I second that. If that, I don't know if that's I don't know if that's the right thing to do, but I second that.
Okay. Yes, I just want to make sure that, so Inga, you're presenting an amendment to strike the 3 whereases that we discussed that are
Yeah.
shown on the screen right now. Yes.
I don't see the screen, but yes, I had written it down. It's basically, the first one is that not administering would negatively impact the students and families, break their own cycles of poverty through sacrifice, as Alice mentioned. The second one is basically the last whereas, I guess, clause before the resolved. And then I had a third one here.
The impressive history, D20 has impressive history, and then
Yeah, and then the state and city lawmakers who recognize the need, that one. Yeah, those three.
Okay, so let's make an amendment to strike a motion to amend, and sorry, you make it, Inga, someone second it, and then let's.
Okay, I motion to amend the resolution, and the amendment has to do with those three whereas paragraphs that we just discussed, that Simeon suggested to remove.
Anyone second?
I second it.
Great. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, great. So now, do we want to make a motion to vote on the resolution per Inga's amendment?
Can I raise some issues about the resolve section first?
Yes.
Yeah, and Simeon, would you mind, can you just go by paragraph, only because I don't have your changes in front of me?
Yeah, I'm going off of your version, so.
Okay, great.
So, so it says.
No,
be
down to
resolved.
Taya. We're gonna go to the resolve.
So the first resolve is that you're asking them to announce admissions plans, criteria, and deadlines for middle and high schools immediately and schedule the SHAT. And then it says in the second paragraph that you're asking them to put forth top two possibilities. So those seem contradictory to me. Are we asking them to come up with a clear admission plan and criteria, or are we asking for two possibilities? And then that seems like that's going to delay the process even longer if there are multiple possibilities.
Yeah, so I was torn between the two of those. Frankly, that second one I kind of didn't want to put in, but then I felt like, well, maybe they just don't know. Maybe they're thinking about something. And I think as a parent, we probably would want to know if they have some choices that they've like narrowed down. And that was the thought process behind putting that second paragraph in about, you know, at least at a minimum telling us what their top two choices were. I mean, I'm fine with aggregating those into one ask, you know, immediately announce admission plans, or if decision has not been made, then provide, you know, transparency as to your, you know, top possibilities, just to literally engage parents, because we have heard nothing from them at all. So I'm open to suggestions of integrating those two into one, if you have any.
Yeah, my suggestion would be to say to immediately announce a plan and criteria and deadlines in a draft form with a public comment period, and then finalize it by certain dates. I think just adding multiple possibilities and then decision-making extended beyond that for long is just gonna drag this out, and it's already December. So I'm
Yeah,
worried
that's
about how long this might take.
I mean, I'm fine with that. I don't see any issue with that.
Right. Simeon, any other resolve section substantive edits?
This is just a technical thing, but where it says you want the criteria to be 50% of third grade state test scores, that's from 2019, correct? So that would be-
Probably, yes.
Okay, I think it just be clarified. And then I'd like to take out the part about waiving what the criteria are selected by them, because we don't know what they're going to be. And maybe they'd be better, you know, maybe.
Sorry, Simeon, what's that sentence? Can you?
Okay, so in the last paragraph, I just want to say that third grade test scores from 2019, and it's the fourth grade grades.
Mm-hmm.
And I do agree we should get rid of absences and lateness as a criteria. And then it's the last sentence. I'm just concerned about sort of saying we want a waiver from something we don't know what it is.
Okay.
I'm fine with removing the last sentence. Again, we can always, you know, do that separate and apart from the resolution.
Okay. So let's make a motion to vote on the amendments that call for aggregating, and Simeon, you'll have to send the new language, points 1 and 2 under resolve.
Oh, God.
As well as adding 2019 to the last paragraph and removing the last sentence about a waiver.
May I?
Yes, Vito.
So is it my understanding that in the event that they do something else that we don't like, we could discuss asking the superintendent to request a waiver at that time?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so.
Can I
Okay.
just ask for some, like, just clarification? Has anyone in the history of ever gotten a waiver from the superintendent to do what they wanted to do for?
The city, you mean?
Yeah, I mean, is this something that's actually realistic that we should be devoting resources to asking for? I mean,
Actually, our admissions policy for middle schools is district specific. It was definitely a singular event for District 20.
right,
that,
but if the guidelines are coming directly from NYCDOE, I think our district still has to abide by them.
Well,
that would be what we're trying to get a waiver from. So
Well-
I get what you're saying, but
Yeah, why don't we do some research on
okay,
waiver history after?
yeah, I'm curious. Just
And just because we don't, we could ask for anything, right? I
Sure.
mean, the city wants to do something, and if the parents don't want it, what are our options? We could ask for a waiver, or we could, maybe we could march across the Brooklyn Bridge. I don't know.
Okay, I make a motion to amend the resolution to combine the first two resolves and delete the last sentence from the last paragraph.
I
Second.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any
Great.
opposed?
Any opposed? No. Okay. I make a motion for us to vote on this amendment.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
You need a
Roll call.
Yes.
roll
that's
call.
for it. Mhm.
That's you, Natalia. And again, just give us the title of the resolution.
Okay, well, one thing if the title would change now, or maybe not.
Oh, wait, yeah, maybe we take out the G and T. Is that another edit we want to vote on?
Can we go up?
Up, Natalia. Yeah.
Good catch, Natalia.
Good catch, yes.
When do we get to explain our vote? We're voting on the resolution now as amendment, correct?
Mhm.
Yes.
Yeah.
So when do we get to explain why we're voting, how we're voting? I'm just really confused. I'm sorry.
Yeah. When we do roll call, I think you can.
Okay, thank you, Dina.
And we do need to change the title.
Yeah, sorry, Natalia, I can't actually see it. Does it still say gifted and talented? Because I'm looking at my
Yes,
Yes.
yes.
taking that.
Yeah.
Okay,
So strike that and just leave it as admissions criteria.
I think so.
Fill that out a little bit.
Yeah, admissions criteria
Can we put
for
the date?
screen schools and programs.
For 2020.
How about for fifth and
2021?
eighth graders? Like for incoming, middle school and high school? Because that's what we're looking for, right? We're concerned with
Yeah.
our fifth and eighth graders now.
Yeah. Someone will have to make a motion with the exact title. And
Yep. Simeon, I elect you to come up with the language.
All right. Do you want it right now?
Yes. On the
Okay.
spot.
All right, here we go. Resolution calling upon Governor Cuomo, Mayor de Blasio, Chancellor Carranza, and the New York State Legislature to immediately release to parents the policy and timeline for middle and high school applications and admissions for the 2020-2021 calendar year.
But that's our title? Okay.
Oh, you're talking about the title.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
just the
that's
resolution.
already, that is the first paragraph of the resolution.
And we agree on that, actually.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
District 20, Resolution 8 will go. What should the title be?
No, I took out that screen stuff and the testing. You're just talking about you just want the title changed?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Admissions policy, middle and high school admissions policy.
There you go.
Yes.
I
Okay.
think we need to specify that it's for screen schools and superintendent programs.
I think it's for everything.
it's
It
for
is
everything.
everything.
It's for, I think
Okay, whatever, that's fine.
Right?
Yeah.
It's all encompassing, Vito.
it is, yeah, it's,
I'm good with that. Yeah.
Okay, that's fine.
Okay. Motion to change the title to admissions criteria.
Got to be for the 2021, 2022 school
Wait,
year.
no. He said middle and high school admissions policy.
Yeah. Okay.
Let's make
For
it
the-
simple.
You got to put the year in there, don't we? 2020, 2021
Okay,
school year?
Let's do the school year. Middle,
yeah,
okay. I'm making a motion to change the title of this resolution number 8 to middle and high school admissions policy for school year 2021-2022.
I
Second.
second.
Great. Natalia, do you have that wording down?
I'm getting it down because I think I'm supposed to be editing this, right?
Okay, good, because I didn't
Wrote
write
it-
that.
I wrote
Okay.
it down.
All right,
Great.
all in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay,
Any opposed? Yeah.
Okay,
So now we can vote to vote again?
let's make a motion to vote on Resolution 8 with new title and amendments.
I second the motion.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Don't we have to do a roll call now?
Yeah, Natalia's roll call.
Now we do it, yeah.
Hey, Dina Gergis.
Yes.
Okay, Robert Aguilar.
No.
Alice Licato.
Yes, I will support this resolution.
Okay. Inga Smolyar.
Yes.
Alan Aha.
In the early 1970s, predominantly white parents organized against the integration of our public school system. They didn't want their children to go to schools with Black and Latinx students, especially as the city, as increased migration had come from Puerto Rico, and from the South. What we're voting on today is the extensions of the apparatus that was set up to segregate our schools, our districts at the facility level and at the citywide level. I can't believe that we are engaging in a resolution, I think the third or fourth time on GNT, on testing criteria in the middle of a pandemic when all of these inequities have been exposed. Cannot believe it. When we haven't had, and I'm complicit here, we haven't done anything about multiple language learners. We haven't done anything about students with disabilities. Like this is unconscionable to even consider this, especially given the reality of widened inequalities. So I will be voting absolute no. We should not have admissions processes, period, into any specialized high schools. They should not exist whatsoever. And I'm sorry to the parents, the majority of parents in the district who haven't been asked, who haven't been polled, whose voices aren't being heard. I'm talking about families across the district who never have been, who come to these meetings every day and who say, what is up with this district obsession with standardized testing and GNT and screened schools? This is nonsense. So I will adamantly voting no, and I wish we were a completely different CNC. I'm tired of this.
Okay. Mauricia Cadillo.
Yes, and Alan, that is your opinion because my kid improved in the gifted and talented. So everyone has their own opinions. You shouldn't speak for everybody.
Yifeng Chen.
Yes, I support what Marusha said. Absolutely, yes.
Adele Doyle.
Sorry, I'm unstable. My internet's unstable. Just to the point, I think this is long overdue. It's really be fair to parents, having gone through an admissions process 4 times already, not to have a protocol in place, whatever it might be, but not to have advised parents going into December, not to let them know where their children may go to school next year, anywhere. Okay, all parents going through this process have to put down their school choices, and they cannot do that. Their children are left unsettled in an incredibly unsettled world, and it's an unfair burden to place on parents. It's an unfair expectation that parents are going to sit by and their children are going to become more anxious through this process. We negate the expectations of students to be able to understand where they're going to go to school. This is important to children. It's part of social emotional. It's absolutely important. Whatever your feelings are on GNT or anything else, you need to respect the rights of parents and their children to understand the value of their education. It's for nobody to say what a parent or a child should believe. parents and children need to be able to dictate their own educations. So absolutely, yes, long overdue, well done.
Okay. Vito Labella.
Thank you. Alan, I want to thank you for your advocacy. I disagree with you, but I want to thank everybody here tonight for the civility in discussing this in a very, very professional manner. And it makes me proud of this CEC because I do know that other CECs across this city have not been able to have these discussions in a civilized manner. I am a parent of gifted and talented children since 2008. And no one I ever spoke to over the last 12 years has ever indicated to me that they care about what the child next to theirs looks like or where they come from. Not once, not once, not once, not once. And the insinuation that parents who are looking for this kind of rigorous education, that they are racist, that is really unfair to them. And I do not think that that is true. We only have to look at Success Academy and see what Success Academy and other charter schools do. What they do is they take children from the same population that exists in general ed schools that look the same, that have the same socioeconomic status, and by training the parents on what to do, they have very much impacted their children, those children, in a positive way. And, you know, if every school was a Success Academy, we wouldn't need G&T. But I really am offended by the progressive educational agenda that says we love Black and brown children and we care about Black and brown children, but only if they're educated, you know, under DOE rules with DOE teachers and the DOD limitations. And we know what works. And I think we need to proceed with exploring that. So I emphatically vote yes.
Simeon Stolzberg.
Yes.
Okay. Steve Stowe.
Yes.
Okay. 9 yeses and 2 nos. Oh, same odds.
Okay, great. Thank you, everybody. Just one reminder that our next meeting is January 13th, 6 p.m. for the business, 7 for calendar. Steve will be facilitating and chairing that meeting.
Can I just make a point of order too, since we're on resolution? Thank you for the reminder at the next meeting. We hope to have another resolution up for vote and posted up on the website well before the 48-hour time limit regarding internet for all and addressing sort of Alan's point of how egregious it is that there are students right now that don't even have access to education, and how can we make that happen? So we're looking to amend our resolution number 7, internet for all, and just make it a lot stronger and ask for guidance from the DOE on how we can help students get the devices and the internet access that they so desperately need, as they haven't been in school essentially for 8 months. So, but thank you, everyone. Thank you, Dina.
Great. So we will motion to end the meeting at 9:47 p.m.
I second.
All in favor?
Good night, everybody. Happy holidays.
Happy holidays.
Yes, happy holidays.
All right, everyone. Happy holidays.
Happy Festivus, everyone. Thank you.
Thank
Nice.
Night, everyone.